this arena when Ariana Grande performed Manchester, we'll never forget.
Well, hello everybody and welcome to the 306th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host Steve Wellings, and joining me on the call tonight we have Dave the Hater Lowback, Andy Patterson, and big shows call for big names and big opinions, none bigger than Adam Smido Smith. Welcome back, Smido. A bit of action over the weekend to keep your eye on, mostly Friday night, in fact. Usually it's a Saturday, isn't it? That's packed out. Not so much in the UK at the moment. There's not really that much going on. But over in the States on Friday night, obviously we had Demetrius Andrade. We also had Jennings going in for another crack at the world title. He got stopped. Obviously, we'll talk about that later. Those are both on Friday night. The big fight on Saturday night, Andy, was, of course, Manny Pacquiao against Adrian Broner. We'll get onto the undercard shortly. It was over in the MGM Grand, Las Vegas. Filmed on, what was it, pay-per-view over there? I think I was saying to Gabe last night. The Americans paid for it, so we didn't have to. We had it in ITV4. I got the main event Showtime and the undercard, most of it on Spanish TV, so I wasn't really aware of what was being said. What it looked like to me was another L for me. I thought Broner would do a decent job, but he actually didn't really do too much of anything. And at the end, he had the temerity, I suppose, the audacity to say that he thought he outboxed Pacquiao. Surely he was only trolling when he jumped on the side of the ring. We've said it before. We'll say it again, Andy. How many more chances can this guy possibly have? I thought he was piss poor, to be honest. He did next to nothing.
He did next to nothing, mate. Yep, sorry, I just got slightly distracted there. Give me 2 seconds, mate.
Andy, why are you doing that? Let me say something, right, because the thing is with Broner, what I've come to observe from him, he keeps getting these opportunities, but if you look at his biggest losses against Garcia, against, who else did he lose to? Porter, and obviously the one against Marcus Maidana, Broner is like a world-class, highly competent survivor. He's like an almost, like a high-level gatekeeper almost. When he fights at the top level, Broner, he just survives. He remains competitive. He doesn't actually do enough to win. And you can't consistently reward that mentality with constant paydays and now pay-per-views, in my opinion. He just does enough to stay competitive, stay in the fight. He doesn't throw anywhere near enough punches. He talks his shit outside. But forget about the stuff outside the ring. In the ring, he's like a high-class survivor, Andy.
Yeah, I've been saying it for years, and I didn't want to keep harping back to it and stuff, but I just thought last night was just piss poor all around for him. You know, I did give him credit to some degree last week. I did say that, you know, his chin was going to hold him up in good stead. That was always been rock solid. Okay, he's been dropped a couple of times and hurt maybe off Maidana. Got rocked again last night, but his chin's generally been pretty solid. Pacquiao, we know at this age he's not what he is, but just look at it. 40-year-old, apparently struggling with the cold. He's probably, 50-70% of his best, and he's dominating Adrian Broner, who's at this point in his life supposed to be his athletic peak. You know, it was just piss poor. I mean, again, as I say, I'd hate and I loathe to actually make punch stats as part of my analysis or anything like that. But I just thought it was quite telling that, you know, the punches he landed mostly. I think he'd outlanded Pacquiao on 2 rounds. Over the course of the whole 12 rounds, he landed twice. He landed more punches than Pacquiao in 2 rounds over the course of the 12 by a single punch in each round. That's, I guess, a 40-year-old fighter. You know, again, as I say, you know, Pacquiao at this point, he is a legend, and we all know this. But even at this point, you would think, you know, supposedly young, hungry fucking fighters coming through would actually, you know, at this point in his career, take it to him. The reason why Floyd Mayweather's retired, you know, Pacquiao keeps going. I just, you know, Broner just at this point, he's become that journeyman gatekeeper. That's all he is now. He's just going to be the guy who, you know, after the fight, you know, it's just, as you say, he was trolling. Yeah, because look at it now, but we're not talking about him. We're still talking about him to this point that he thinks he's fucking delusional, thinks he can win the fight. It's just, you know, again, we're giving him far too much credit here. We knew what he was all about. He's all about the fucking bitches and Benjamins. We all said this before, but he's not born about doing what he's like what Floyd did. Floyd fucking grafted his bollocks off like Pacquiao did, like all the greats do. You know, he just talks about being great. Other people do, you know, who are great actually go out and fucking do it and prove it time after time. This guy, time after time, has fucking came up short in all his biggest fights. He is now, as I say, a gatekeeper. We basically call him a bum, which is, you know, again, it's probably just cruelty in that way, but he's not a bum by any means. He's just, you know, again, another tragic tale of wasted youth who was pissed away at any talent that he got. Just, you know, it's an indicative that, you know, again, a fighter with talent who just wouldn't fucking work hard enough. How often have we seen it over the course of, you know, how many sports? fighter, if just people just want to fucking screw the nut, all about fucking limelight, social media, going out in the bevy, rap parties and fucking CDs and all that sort of shit that you want to fucking bring out and promote your raps and all that sort of shit, and you come out with your pish. He needs to get serious now. He needs to either serious as retire, or he keeps fighting because he's got a brood of fucking kids to kind of feed as well. But I agree with you, he's going to get more paydays. Thurman's coming back. Amir Khan, I suppose, if he wants to keep fighting, would probably beat Broner at this point. I mean, based on activity, you would need to fucking say Khan would beat him at this point in his career. He was fucking awful last night, Broner. Offered nothing.
Yeah, Andy's not too happy. Pissed it all away, he says. Wasted youth. Talking of all that, Gabe's in the chat today on the Hangout. Welcome, Gabe. Good to have you on the call. Dave, Kaiser Cobra was saying to me... Gabe, what happened, man? You dozed off, apparently. Quick update here. What happened there? Did you doze off before the pod was about to start?
Yeah, I started watching some of that fight last night, so I got a little bit drowsy there.
Hopefully we'll throw a bit of cold water over Gabe and get him going in a minute after Smido. First of all, let's get to you, hater Dave Loback. As I said, Kaiser Koba was saying that Broner might have lost another big one, but he's 7-0 against Jim Gray. I haven't seen the post-fight interview, so I'm not sure what he was banging on about. Dave Loback is so angry, he's jumped off the chat. We'll hopefully get him back in a minute.
Jim was amazing last night. Jim Gray was fucking brilliant.
Is it worth watching, Andy? Because, like I said, I had Spanish language for a lot of it, and I couldn't get bits and pieces. Obviously, that I would have heard what Broner had saying, but is it worth going back and listening to it?
He just basically says to him, just be professional. Let's have an interview here and stuff. And he just I think Broner was like saying, "Over here, bitch, fucking talk to me. Of course I won and all that sort of shit." And you just see Jim's like that, man. He's everybody knows he's a fucking tosser. It's the only reason he's still relevant is because he's a fucking hateable, deplorable wee fucking ball bag. You would fucking love to see getting fucking just kicked his ass up and down the fucking street. I can't wait for this guy one day to come along and just get fucking gunned down in a fucking drive-by or something like that. The guy is an absolute waste of fucking skin. That's what he is. A fucking absolute embarrassment. I can't mind how the fucking interview actually kind of tailed off in the end, because my video actually kind of cut off at the end and stuff, so I don't know how it kind of really ended, but you can see it as well. He was having goes at Al Bernstein and stuff, playing the racism card and all that sort of shit. He's fucking at it. He's playing at it. That's all he is. He's fucking delusional. That's what he is. Fucking delusional.
Yeah, I think before Andy was trying to put the money in the bank, wasn't he? A few more pay-per-views and that. I am going to go and seek that out then, actually. That's definitely worth a watch. Right, Smido, let's go on to you. I liked a bit of Floyd Mayweather analysis. He's like a rabbit in the headlights, isn't he, Floyd? No matter how long he's been there for. Jim Gray's interviewing him. What do you think, Floyd? Who have you got winning? Well, I think Manny's edging it, probably about 4-1. 4-1? That doesn't sound like he's edging it to me, Floyd. But anyway, putting that to one side. What about, we've said a lot about Broner, obviously, and his deficiencies, Smido. But tell me about Manny Pacquiao's performance. He was 40. He made Broner look like the 40-year-old. I like the way he was using his feints. I like the way he was drawing Broner inside. Pacquiao was having to lean at times and reach, and he was a little vulnerable to the right hand, but his body work was nice. He was feinting upstairs, throwing the jab upstairs, waiting for Broner to tuck the hands up, and then he was knocking the left hand underneath. It was a professional, solid performance from Pacquiao against a top contender. How long can he go on, performing like this, really?
Well, Broner's not a top contender, so not very long. I mean, I was watching it last night thinking, how would he get on against the likes of Crawford, Thurman, if we ever see him in a ring again? I think he's scheduled to fight next week. I don't know, I feel like I repeat myself with Pacquiao. Pacquiao's X factor is long, long gone. Back in the day, 2008, 2009, where he was smashing through people. He was smashing through Cotto, De La Hoya, Hatton, whoever was in his way, smashing through him. He didn't have a knockout in, I think, 9 years until Matisse last time out. And then last night he's come up against Lazy Broner. I mean, we've got some live analysis from a 7-month-year-old here. Broner's shocking. You know what? I didn't even live by my own rules last night, because I was looking through the odds, and they say never look a gift horse in the mouth, right? Pacquiao, whose X Factor's long gone and don't knock anyone out anymore, and Broner, who just gets outpointed and outworked by everyone. It was even money last night for a Pacquiao to win on points, and I bottled it, and that's not cool. So I was a bit disappointed there with myself, but I've not watched a live Pacquiao fight since he got flattened by Marquez. I think that was in 2012. like I say, I've just ended up losing interest in him. But I was happy to watch this fight for the simple reason that I wanted him to flatten Broner, but he didn't. I thought Pacquiao jabbed really well. He's still got the movement. He's improved a lot defensively over the years, which I think goes unnoticed. I think that was mentioned on Twitter earlier, to be fair. But I'm not particularly. I don't think we've held Pacquiao in I don't know, the king of the division regard, whatever division that may be currently, welterweight. I don't think we've held him in that kind of status for a long time. I've always, as long as the conversation's been going on about Crawford, and we're probably into 2 or 3 years about him possibly, handing over the torch from Pacquiao. I always thought that Crawford would beat Pacquiao, and I still definitely think that now. But I only kind of realised last night, like I've not looked at boxing for a while, I only kind of realised last night that Broner's not even, he's drawn and lost his last 2 fights, and yet he's on pay-per-view against one of the biggest names in boxing we've seen this century.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a fucking idiot, Steve. He's just an idiot. Like, I don't. But we knew what we was going to get. That's the point. That's the.
Is he an idiot though, Smitho? He's the one on
Yeah.
pay-per-view after drawing and losing his last 2 fights.
You want to hear him say it? That he won the fight? Listen to this.
Averaged 8 punches. Less than 8 punches was the most punches that you had in the round.
Ice.
My God.
It already sounded like you was against me. So I already ain't got a fair shake talking to you. But let me talk something. Let me let y'all know. I want to thank the whole hood who came out here. I love y'all. I did this for the hood. Y'all know I beat that boy. Y'all know I beat that boy. What they trying to do is they trying to get that money again with Pacquiao and Floyd. But it's cool. I ain't worried about it. I'm still that nigga, man. I'm on top. Cincinnati, stand up. West side. 2 times.
You're 3-3-1 in your last 7 fights. What will you do next?
Hey, I'm 3-3-1 my last 7, but I'll be 7-0 against you.
What an absolute tool.
But Broner though, like on a completely different level, it's the same. It's the same when we talk about Dave Allen. We're saying the same shit about the same fighter, fight after fight after fight. Low output, not dedicating to the game, chatting shit on the microphone. We knew this was coming from Broner. No one has woke up this morning surprised and think, oh, that Broner is shit the bed. Normally he's got massive output and he, presents his power, this, that, and the other. He's just done exactly the same as he always does. But somehow, because he's got a mouth and everyone tunes in and wants him to lose, then it kind of gets forgotten. He did the same against Mikey Garcia, man. But I mean, what do you think they're going to do with Pacquiao? Are they going to put him in it? I mean, because when was the last time he was in with a top kid, other than Mayweather? We've been fighting the likes of Matisse and Rios way back when, after the these guys he's been fighting since the Marquez knockout. Obviously, he fought Mayweather. That was what it was. I didn't even watch that live.
Well, who would you put him in with, Smitho, if you were Al Heyman?
I
Maybe
think
you are.
Al Heyman is milking that shit. Like they've been taking him abroad, and they've been to Macau and the Philippines and Australia. Obviously, that job went wrong. I just think they've been milking him, and I think that obviously they're back on American soil last night, but
wasn't Heyman though, was it? Isn't this the first time he's been with Heyman?
So is this him? Oh, I can't even keep up. I mean,
Yeah, he was still with Top Rank when it was over down as far as.
So he's not with Top now.
No, Top Rank's gone. He's away from Bob, I think, isn't he? Isn't he with Heyman now? And he's got Freddie back in the corner. But that last fight was like a sort of, he was stuck between the two. Was he with Bob? Wasn't he with Bob? We didn't know. Yeah.
But I mean, how long? I saw it even again. I saw a clip. How long has Freddie Roach been saying he's going to win by knockout? Like we're talking a decade that Freddie Roach is saying, "Oh, the Manny Pacquiao I know's back. He's got that hunger. He's going to win by knockout." He's literally, we're talking a decade.
He always says that though, doesn't he?
He does always. So, but I mean that's what I'm thinking, right? He's got this WBA, whatever. That's always a mess. Is he going to continue taking that against fringe guys, the likes of possibly Khan or even Brook, them kind of kiddies, or is he going to fight the Spence, Crawford, or Thurman. I don't think he's going to fight any of the three latter because I just think they'll all beat him, and that would be the end of the road.
Well, I mean, I don't think Smido, just to round off, he's going to fight Crawford at all, but maybe Thurman, I think, could be the one. I mean, you'd be happy to see that, Smid. Thurman's fighting Josecito Lopez next week.
We need to see how he's going to fare up. I mean, you can imagine what's going to happen here. He's going to throw a jab and the shoulder's going to go again. He's going to go away and get high, back to that wee pretty wife of his. And
when was the last time we saw Thurman?
It must be
Garcia, wasn't it, in April 17? Would that have been? No, he must have fought since that,
It's
hasn't
been
he?
close to 2 years, I think.
Or Porter? No.
I just pulled up his record. He last fought in March 2017.
There you go. There you are. Then it wasn't
I
far.
remember when Thurman fought Porter, I quite enjoyed that fight, but the Garcia fight was a bit of a. It didn't really catch fire, did it, in the end?
No.
So
Garcia just neutralised him.
Yeah. Has he been some sort of champion in recess or something like that, Thurman? Is he still...
He held on to one of the titles, didn't he, and lost the other one, I think. I'm not sure.
He's at WBA Super...
Yeah.
Super whatever it is.
Super high champion. Right, Dave, let's get you in, shall we? Broner just doesn't work hard enough, does he? I mean, that's the simple fact of it. He drifts and he either throws up or he covers. He rarely throws with opponents, Broner. He's either in defensive mode or he's transitioning into attack mode. When if you're throwing at him, he puts his hands up and he lays against the ropes and he lets you throw, and then he waits till you finish and then he throws back again. He doesn't throw with you, Dave. I mean, maybe that doesn't even matter at all, but he could just do so much more, I feel. If he got himself into decent shape, got a bit of work rate about him, he could have put it on Pacquiao last night, but he couldn't, shouldn't. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with this guy. He's happy to take the paydays, Dave. You heard what Andy played there, the clip, didn't you? He's like, oh, well, he takes the moral victory. I'm from the hood and I'm getting paid all this money and blah. And that's his sort of victory, isn't it?
Truly embarrassing show from him in every way. You thought the performance was bad. Then that post-fight interview comes up and he essentially challenges an elderly commentator to fight.
Plus Fat Dan afterwards. That was tremendous. Good game his due
Yeah,
for
I thought it was embarrassing, honestly. I mean, Fat Dan asked I have no interest in his opinions on the sport, but he asked a reasonable question. And when you want cheese on your burger, it was embarrassing. I mean, I thought this guy was supposed to be like, trash talk is the one thing he's good at, right? That was sad.
Dave, who wins? Dan Rafael and Broner's dad? Big pay-per-view fight.
Oh, that would be a close one.
The battle of the fucking male titties, eh?
Smother him with the fleece.
Oh, you wonder if that fleece has ever been washed before, eh?
Would be who wouldn't get a heart attack first would win.
I bet Raphael picks the ooze out his fucking belly button to him. He's got that fleece on. Must have it on all the time, eh?
He could knit another mini fleece out of all of his belly button. So yeah, I mean, it was decent. It was good. It's always good to see Broner get staggered, and he got hurt twice. Pretty good by Pacquiao. 2 good left hands. The body work by Pacquiao was also good. I think in some ways Broner's worse than ever. Like Cunningham has made some technical assistances. Enhancements to his game. Like he's able to do some better defensive moves than he used to be able to do, especially spinning off the ropes. He did that a couple times against Maidana, to be fair, but he looked better at defense last night than he ever has before. But of course, he was basically only playing defense. And in the old days, he would get stronger as the fight went on. Last night, he just ceded the 11th and 12th rounds just by doing nothing and ultimately running away. It was really pathetic. Even at least against Maidana when he was hurt, and he made it a dogfight, and he actually tried to win. I think he actually won the 12th round, even though he got busted up in that fight. So now he's lost everything really that makes him relevant in the ring. So I don't care what he does. Hopefully, if it was going to happen last night. That's really the only disappointment from last night. Pacquiao looked pretty good for a 40-year-old man. The lateral movement wasn't there, though. He was pretty in and out. And, when you're 40 years old, you still don't want to be pulling straight back. I mean, it's worked for Pacquiao through his career, but in the old days, he used to throw more side to side, and you would step around you and work that right hook, and then that would set up the straight left. Now it's more He did a little bit of it, but it's mostly in and out. Plus,
I think he leaned off to the left a lot as well, and Broner did catch him as the fight went on with the right hand, but not anywhere near as enough.
Yeah, I don't believe Broner. Even if he did have the heart to do it.
Is Dave going a bit Dalek, or is anybody else?
Yeah, he's cutting out in and out sometimes. He's saying he's having problems with internet all night, isn't
he? You like Stephen Hawking having a stroke here.
Speaking of Stephen Hawking, did you see that meme?
That was great.
We're losing you a bit, Dave. I'm going to unceremoniously mute you, I'm afraid, while you sort yourself out. Sorry, Dave, but you have to be brutal in this game, you know what I mean? With all the money that's riding on it and all the listenerships and stuff. Right, if you want to go off, Dave, and then try and get yourself back on again, I don't know, maybe that'll sort it out. There we go. Right, Gabe, hopefully you can hear me okay. Richard Swig got in touch. He was talking about the Pacquiao-Broner fight. He said, thank fuck Manny won. If Broner had won, it might have been too much for me. He also talked about Ubali against Warren. That's Roshi Warren. We'll be talking about that fight soon. Also, Kaiser Koba was in touch, Gabe. He was mentioning a possible fight between Manny Pacquiao and Danny Garcia. I think Pacquiao showed last night that he has a lot of mobility left about him. Now, Garcia would obviously throw more shots than Broner did, but you think he's a little bit flat-footed, a little bit one-dimensional at times, and Pacquiao might run rings around him. But as the fight progresses, I think Garcia-Pacquiao could be interesting, Gabe. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's actually a pretty good assertion. The biggest thing in Manny's favor is that Danny is slow. He's always been fucking slow. Like, he just, punch-wise, he just slow. He's not a quick puncher. Now, if he stands, puts his feet down and throws, he's got some power in those punches, but he's just too slow, and he has to be set perfectly before he'll punch. Like, he's not a guy that's going to be able to deal with Manny, I don't think, in a lot of spots, because Manny's going to be coming in and out, and Danny's going to be set and have perfect timing. Now, we've seen him have good timing before with quick fighters like he did with Khan. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's kind of an interesting fight to me. Now, then in the end, I think it comes down to how it all shakes out going to the later rounds, because I could see that if Danny's made him timid to throw punches, which has never really been a flaw that Pacquiao has had, then I think that Danny could win that fight if he gets the timing. And I think he's a better timer. What I'm saying is he's better at timing punches than Broner is. So if he could get the timing down and Manny doesn't mix up his speeds a little bit, he could get knocked the fuck out. I don't think it's highly likely. I think it's a possibility, certainly a greater possibility than anything we saw last night. So if you're asking me if I'd like to see that fight, I wouldn't turn it down. I'm not paying pay-per-view for that shit, but I would watch it. I think it'd be a solid fight. Again, you know, it'll always be interesting to see what happens when you got a 40-year-old guy in there, and when is going to catch him. Because whenever you have guys like Manny that are getting up there in age, the scenario is always going to be similar. When's it going to catch him? Because it's always going to at some point or another, and it usually happens during the fight. You see it all the time. We could go look back at tons of old fights where guys just got old. I mean, look at Chocolatito Gonzalez. I think the size was a big difference there, but he looked like he got old all of a sudden in one evening. And he had some pretty tough fights before he got knocked out by the what's his name, Rungvisai, right? And
yep.
I think that's always something to keep in mind too. But yeah, I think it'd be interesting. I think it'd be a good solid fight, and maybe you'd tell us a little bit more about where both guys are at, what they've got left in the tank, because I've always liked Danny Garcia. He just lacks a few things to me that make him all around top elite level. And that's not a knock by any means, because he's one of the best welterweights around. He was one of the best 140 pounders when he was down there, if not the best 140 pounder for a brief period of time. And I know how people always say about that, but I think it's good. I think it's a good fight. I like that suggestion, and I think that's actually what Heyman's going to do with him. So here's my thought process. We're going to have a semi-unofficial tournament with 3 guys in it, and I don't know who will be the prize pick out of it. I think they're going to lean towards Spence, but I could see Manny having a fight with Danny Garcia. Thurman probably fight Sean Porter. And then, of course, you got Errol Spence. He's going to be fighting Mikey Garcia. So, assuming all those guys win, set them up 2-2, and then all the winners meet up. And I don't see why that would be a bad setup either. I think that's what we're going to see is Heyman getting some of the guys that maybe aren't the crown jewels. And whenever I say crown jewels, I'm thinking it's either Spence or Thurman. It's one of the two. And I don't know which one Al holds in higher esteem. I'd have to say I would think it would be Errol Spence, but we'll see what happens. And I think there's a lot of good fights out there in the PBC for Manny without having to look outside of it.
Okay, Gabe, don't look outside, says Gabe. You're listening to the 306th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. Gabe's with us. You just heard him talking there. Adam Smido-Smith is with us. So is Dave the Hater Lowback. Andy as well with me, Steve Wellings. Don't forget to hit thumbs up over on the old YouTube if you are listening to it there, or leave a review for us on iTunes. It's the month of January 2019. Nothing less than 5 stars will be acceptable over on the iTunes, everybody. Right, Andy, let's get on to the undercard, shall we? I just briefly touched upon Richard Swig's comment there. He was talking about Ubali against Warren. He said, I'm loving this fight. No clinching, no holding. Both of them wanting to say that they're the better in the pros after facing each other in the amateurs. He's obviously referring to something that we neglected to mention last week, that Ubali had beaten Warren in the amateurs. Warren did his usual thing, didn't he? He's not a big puncher. He is fast. First couple of rounds, the same against Jakianov. He caught Ubali with a few decent shots, but after that, I don't know, he just wasn't able to plant his feet up until the last couple of rounds. He was running a lot, and Ubali really forced the fight. Southpaw stance, came forward, threw a lot of shots, and L, I think, for Warren for wearing that ridiculous get-up beforehand, that dog collar, stroke chain thing, and that big furry hood. I mean, he deserved to lose for that. I think that's an automatic disqualification offence.
I did notice Kevin Cunningham actually giving me a bit of a hard time as well in between rounds and stuff. You know, I think it's the kind of fight we're on. He was probably kind of, you know, I think he kind of knew the fight was kind of like coming away from him. You know, as you say, early doors, he was quick with especially the right hook and that. He kind of caught, I think it was caught him off balance kind of early in the fight. I think it was the second round. I think it was with a right hook. And he caught him with a couple of left hands, I'm sure as well, and a couple of combinations, kind of somewhere in the third. And he might have even kind of slightly stunned O'Bally actually a wee bit in the fourth round, but then you know O'Bally then came back up with his own combinations. I think he was slightly buzzed as well, Warren at some point as well. It's like they couldn't just really kind of put him down, really. Good fight. I think he Warren a wee bit of kind of shit last week because it was one of those fighters I couldn't really kind of take to, but he did well. He did well in sorts, I suppose, but I think just O'Bally just kind of landed numerous hard shots, and that especially to kind of fight Warren late 10th round. I'll give Warren a lot of kind of credit. He did try to kind of start the 11th kind of quite strongly, trying to kind of get the momentum going again and stuff. But
he could have withered, couldn't he? But he did have a go.
He did have a go. I just think it kind of the wither. You know, that's probably the right word to say. Actually, he's attacked did kind of slightly wither out actually because O'Bally did kind of continue in the 12th, didn't he? Kind of you know going at Warren, but he did try to fire back. So I'll give him his due there. Just he just couldn't land the clean shots and that. So I think O'Bally did. But I think last week, I think we pretty much did say we gave O'Bally the chance to win it, and he did it. I think he was, pretty much 116, 112 kind of scorecard was pretty much fair. So yeah, I think O'Bally was more than the worthy winner. But as for Warren, off the back end of that performance, I could see what Cunningham was saying, just like trying to kind of force him to kind of keep going, just really kind of like dig in. But he
hasn't got the power, has he?
Exactly, he's just not got the power, isn't he? He's just you could see it against Jakianov when he kind of really needed it as well. In that fight, he was going to get
when he dropped Jakianov. It was more Jakianov coming on to a sharp shot that he didn't see coming, and it was a good knockdown. But it wasn't. He's not indicative of a fighter who hits you really hard and stuns you.
That's the main thing. So I didn't really know where he's going to go next. As you say, if the power's not there at kind of world level, especially at bantamweight, and that, I think you're really going to need it. I mean, he can go down different routes if he wants to go, but obviously we don't know if the WBSS tournament's going to fold or whatever and that. But do you actually see him holding up against any of those other champions like Tete, Rodriguez, and Donaire?
No, but I think Andy, down at that weight, and considering he has a bit of backing, he will get opportunities, I think. But he won't beat them.
We've only beat them though, I suppose. I wouldn't be surprised actually to try and wait for the ghost of Ryan Burnett to come back or whatever and that. But Pacquiao got knocked out early in the round against Inoue. That he's still kicking around that weight, I believe. Maybe a Paul Butler, Lewis Neri, maybe. Who knows? Who knows? Again, Steve, you're kind of yeah. That's his career for me, mate.
Yeah, quick word on some of the other things, Andy, that you might have seen. I didn't see George Kambosos Jr., but fair play to him. He went to 15 or 16-0. Now, friend of the pod, he defeated Ray Perez. Jack Tapora lost his little WBA interim trinket after he came in way overweight. Hugo Ruiz ended up fighting Alberto Guevara and beat him wide. He knocked him down at least once from what I saw. Yeah. And also shout out to Marcus Browne. A bit of love for Marcus Browne last week. I didn't think he would beat Jack, but I thought he would give him problems, as I explained on the pod last week. I just saw things in Browne, the speed, the power, the southpaw stance. He could mirror some of the success that the likes of Adonis Stevenson and James DeGale had against Badou Jack. And he did that, Browne, and he carried it on for the whole fight. I thought it was a very, very solid performance.
It was a solid performance. I did think, especially as the fight went in the kind of fourth round, I thought he was slightly struggling, Browne. You could see it with the holding. Obviously, then I don't know if Jack got desperate and kind of leaned in too far with the head, and it was accidental, obviously, in that. But I thought Browne started, pretty efficiently. He established distance pretty well, got the jab going, looked to land the straight left hand in that as well. And then he caught Jack a couple of times with some combinations and that. Obviously, I think maybe the cut probably changed the fight. That was bad, man. I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised. That's probably up there as bad as the Valero cut against DeMarco. That was absolutely horrific.
It's terrible, isn't it?
Fair play to Jack for fighting through that. I mean, there would have been less of people that bailed in that fight. But nah, in the end, I thought Browne was a worthy winner. Wasn't the fight I thought it might have been, though, Steve. Again, as I say, okay, it was wide in the cards and that, but Jack, right? I mean, I'm not wanting to hate on the guy, but he's one of these fighters. And that, okay, I thought he won the DeGale fight, but he's like one of these fighters, especially like Stevenson and maybe like the Groves fight which he won. That I just think he's in these type of fights, and that he allows them to get too close on the cards. He's got split decisions here, majority decision draws, majority decision wins and stuff.
You're right, Andy. It's like the Broner syndrome that I mentioned. I was watching the Jack fight right before we came on air. At times, he shells up, he covers up, and there's Browne throwing 4 or 5 shots against the guard, and Jack sort of takes them on the gloves, then he resets and sort of chases after Browne, and it gives the judges the impression that Browne is constantly landing the shots, even if they're not landing, throwing the shots, forcing the fight, forcing the pace. Even at times, why doesn't Jack just try to throw with him or throw at the end of Browne's combinations? The trainers tell their fighters this, don't they? Don't make it look as if he's dominating you, throw back and look as if you're coming back at him, and Jack just wasn't doing that.
I think what it is, I just think he's technically he's not got the kind of, as you say, he's able to kind of counter off someone when he's like maybe landed like a 1-2-3 punch combination. He's just not got the technical prowess or ability to do it. He's okay. He works with Floyd Senior and that, but I just think he's at his ceiling. As I say, he always seems to be in these kind of close-ish fights that either he allows him to get too close on the cards, or he just doesn't do enough to win the fight, or they kind of really kind of turn the judge's head, or the viewer and stuff like that. I just think he's just one of the guys who I'm trying to think of somebody else who I can remember in the past. I can't remember his name at the minute, but it's just a bit frustrating actually. Coming off like the Groves fight, which he was, I thought he won that fight, but again split decision. For some reason that fight allowed to get close in the cards, which I don't believe, but. I just think he's just at his ceiling. He's just no elite world level. He's just a good, solid pro.
Yeah, I saw somebody on Twitter a couple of days ago, I can't remember who it was, to name and shame them as such. I mean, obviously everybody's entitled to their opinions, but he said that Jack reminded him of an orthodox version of Ronald Winky Wright, and I'm thinking, no, he's nothing like Ronald Winky Wright. You watch Winky Wright's fight against Harry Simon, every time Simon he covers up and he throws straight back with you. That is a terrible observation. Anyway, whoever that was, I'm sure you're not listening. Right, sorry, I've gone off on one again. Smido, let's bring you in to bring a bit of sanity back to the pod, shall we? Anything off the undercard briefly from you, Smido? Starting with Ubali against Warren, because last night, at some point, you were considering putting money on Warren, weren't you? I think he was like 3-1 or 1-3. I don't know anything about odds.
Well, Steve, this is where I've gone completely wrong, because yes, I was considering putting money on Warren simply because I don't really know the French kid. No two ways about that, but I thought Warren was the home fighter. Floyd Mayweather is going to be sitting ringside. 3-1 he was. as the home fighter, and he's been in with some good kids, Warren. I remember back when I wasn't a casual, I remember watching that Zanit fight. That was decent. I think I watched the second of the Piano fights, the one that he won.
Both on Box Nation.
When I used to have the Nation, Steve, exactly. So yeah, yeah, and then I looked at the French kid's record. Although he could bang, well, it looked like he could bang on his record. I think he'd only had a couple of 12-rounders, and anyway. So I've not watched it yet, but I do intend to. If you could say from the undercard, Steve, to either watch the Warren fight or the Badou Jack fight, which one would you watch? And I will act on your advice.
Warren.
Right, all right. I'll watch that.
Yeah.
I'll watch that. I saw that Badou Jack had some bad cut. Which at what stage in the fight did that occur?
About 5th or 6th, wasn't it, Andy?
I read about that. About 4th or 5th round in that. It was an accidental clash of heads. It was a bad cut, but then as the fight went on in that, especially when you see it in the 12th round, it was actually steadily worse. Actually, it was a good 6 inches.
Yeah, well, I've seen a picture of him today. Looks like something out of a movie, that does. But yeah, I mean, Badou Jack, he's good value, Jack. Really, he got iced in here a few years ago by that Derek Edwards. Is that right? And he's been in with some he's been in with some of the real top kiddies in and around super middle light heavy. Fair play to him. Obviously, he's come unstuck last night against a fresher dude, if you like. But yeah, fair play to him. The only other comment I've got to make on the old the broadcast, Steve, I think I am one of many who recorded the fight on Sky Plus or whatever they call it nowadays. Got up to watch it this morning, didn't know the result, and the broadcast was, I don't know, due to finish at 5:30 on ITV schedule, and the Pacquiao fight was still going on. And when my program,
I made a mistake, Smido. Did you not record the next program?
No, I don't know. Well, yeah, I should. No, I didn't. I'm not really used to doing it, but I could say as soon as I fast forwarded it to the Pacquiao bit, I said to the missus, I said, you can tell what's going to happen here because these two are going to go the distance. So
how did ITV do, Smido? Did they have their own people? Did they get the American feed?
No, they just had Paulie and whoever he was working with for Showtime, and then Skeletor came on when there was a break. The Skeletor came on a couple of times to push Groves and DeGale. DeGale and Eubank, and I think he was doing that kind of live because it wasn't like obviously the advert was pre-recorded, but Skeletor's talking was live.
Was he so super? What do you call it? Money supermarket?
Was Prince Nazim not there, Andy? No, I mean Smido.
Well, Prince Nazim should have been there last night because Prince Nazim's comments in regards to I think he should finish applies to Adrian Broner. Very much so. Very much so. That's all I've got to say on that card, Steve.
Thanks very much, Smido. We'll be coming to you shortly talking about the DAZN stuff. I don't know how much you saw of that, but we'll soon find out. Ozzy's with us. We'll be coming to you in a minute, Ozzy, on Pacquiao, Broner and anything off the undercard. Hey to Dave, same questions to you. Are you disgusted and ashamed by Jack Tapora, Dave? Or was it just one of those things, not being able to get down to the weight?
I was annoyed.
I didn't give a shit. I didn't even know the fight was happening.
What about the other stuff on the undercard then, Dave? Anything to hate on? Any sufficient hatred?
Well, I was going to hate on Jack and his team if they used the cut as an excuse, but they didn't. They did the opposite this morning. Jack said, I was losing even before the cut happened. Congrats to Marcus Browne on the win. That was a bloody vagina in his forehead, and props to him for continuing, and props to him for showing class and defeat. Marcus Browne, his performance was solid. I felt like he was lacking in confidence to really engage when he could have. There's a couple of things here. Early on in the fight before the big cut, he was still winning, but it seemed to me as though the gap would have been a lot wider if he had the confidence to engage more and do a little less wrestling. And then, of course, he did lose a point for the wrestling. I thought justifiably so. He was doing it too much.
Yes, I agree.
But I mean, ultimately, he was working well from range, not landing everything super flush, not landing anything super big, but he was outworking him from range, doing real well. Jack looking listless in there for a while. Maybe it was a bad cam. Maybe this weight's not for him. Maybe he's getting old. He wasn't active enough against Stevenson, though, either. I thought he would have been more active in that fight, and I think that ultimately cost him the decision. I thought he won a close fight, but it shouldn't have been so close, considering he looked levels above Stevenson in that condition. But Jack, I I don't know where he goes from here. This might be the end of the road or close to it for him.
Forget about Jack. What about Browne, Dave? Tell me this, right? Because he was highly ranked, as was Jack, with the WBC at a possible shot at Alexander Gvozdyk. But last night, Browne is number 2 in the WBA. Jack was number 1. This was for the interim WBA light heavyweight title. So you think Browne would now be going on to fight the likes of Dimitri Bivol? Now, Bivol has a defence coming up, doesn't he? Because he signed with DAZN against Joe Smith Jr. So if he's defending against Joe Smith Jr., why the shite do we need an interim WBA light heavyweight title for Marcus Browne and Badou Jack to fight for? Why can't they just have a final eliminator or something?
I don't even try to understand the sanctioning body's methodology, aside from the fact that obviously they want sanctioning fees, they want money. They don't exist for any other reason. They don't exist for the good of the sport or for integrity or anything. They just exist to get those fees. So fuck the WBA. I'm sure whatever they're doing is bullshit, regardless of context. I don't know who. I don't care about the trinkets they're fighting over, but I mean, the winner of that fight, I think, which we would expect would be Bivol. That would be interesting for Marcus Browne. I would expect Bivol to win that fight, though. Gvozdyk looked really good against Stevenson too, so pretty good. So you'd expect him to probably beat Browne, but this is me thinking of Browne as the guy who appeared to lose against I don't know how do you say his name, Kalajic. Yeah, he looked poor in that fight. But I mean,
that was ages ago, though, wasn't it? People always bring that up. That was in 2016. That was nearly 3 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just feel like I didn't expect much improvement from Browne. He's always been like a mauler and wrestler type. So I mean, that he's always fought pretty ugly. His most aesthetically pleasing performance was probably when he just smashed Monahan because it didn't give him any time to maul for 6 or 7 rounds. Just iced him. Also, actually, that Thomas Williams was a good beatdown as well. Dominated that fight, but that was
Williams folds mentally. Yeah,
it was a faded version of Williams, and yeah, obviously Williams does have hit and miss heart.
Light heavyweight, it's hotting up, isn't it? Light heavyweight, really.
Yeah, and this is a new name, and this also is a 2012 Olympian, Marcus Browne, who did not get a medal. I said at the time, all these guys are going to do better in the pros than they did in this shitty goddamn amateur scoring computerized sport, which is garbage. Look at Joshua. He didn't even deserve a medal. He got one, and he got 2 gifts. And look at how he's doing in the pros.
Look at Terrell Gausha. Look at Jamel Herring.
Well, Gausha wasn't great in the Olympics, but he made it further than a ton of other Olympians. Look at Errol Spence. Dominic Brazil, big lump, but he's still managing to get some wins. I mean, he was probably the worst in the Olympics, and even he's gone on to big paychecks. Where are these other heavyweights at Olympics? Where's the guy who beat him at heavyweight?
Good question.
In the Olympics, they're all bums. They all want to stick to the amateur game. It's the pros that count. So I think we should just fuck off the next Olympics, honestly.
Remember Ricardo Williams, Dave? He was supposed to be the next big thing, wasn't he, after Barcelona 92? No, it would have been, what was 96? Atlanta, was it 96? I think Williams came out with a silver, possibly. He was going to be the next big thing. Never happened.
Of course it didn't, because the scoring was fucked by then, wasn't it? After Seoul, things were fucked. Like, it became a different sport.
Mm-hmm. Right, let's move on, Gabe. Let's get us back to this undercard, shall we? Kaiser Koba was in touch again. He said, I'd be interested to hear if you, Gabe, think that Badou Jack has slowed down after the wars with De Gale and Stevenson, or whether Browne was really that good. I don't think Browne is amazing, but I think he's decent and his game plan was good, personally, Gabe. But I think the wars with De Gale and Stevenson, they're tough fights. He has tough fights, doesn't he, Jack? It's bound to wear on you at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that at some point it would wear on a guy. He's not a spring chicken anymore, so I think that has a little bit to do with it. But I think more than just he slowed down. Last night it looked like Browne had the solid game plan and had the necessary tools to enact that game plan in a way that it didn't allow Jack to ever really get going. And then, of course, we had the clash of heads, which Dave said he was going to be pissed if they used it as an excuse. I don't like excuse makers, but if you got a goddamn excuse, that's a damn good one.
Did you feel dizzy after seeing that Clash of Heads, Gabe?
Fuck me, it was bad. I was talking to my brother was here at my house, and I said, because he didn't stay up to watch, so I was telling him, I was like, there was a terrible cut last night, and he's like, oh yeah, and I think he thought it was like your typical kind of cut, and I showed it to him. He's like, he winced a little bit. Whenever I saw it, I mean, there was a lot of blood coming out of that thing. I was kind of wondering if there may have been some kind of artery that got nicked or something in there. It was awful, but no, I don't think it was so much that Jack was slowing down. I mean, he always starts off slow. I think he just last night he had a bunch of things going against him, and the least of those was not the fact that his opponent was well prepared and was ready to do what he needed to do to win the fight. So, in my estimation, I still think Badou Jack's got plenty of fight left in him. I still want to see some more from him, and I think he'll be back. Now, whether that cut's worth a shit or not will be pretty important. Usually, I don't think people have bad times with cuts in that particular part of their anatomy. Usually, it's the cuts around the eyes that get worse and worse. So I hope that gets taken care of well for him. He seems like a genuinely nice cat. So I don't know. I don't think it was Jack getting old at all. I think he just, like I said, good, well-prepped opponent, and then some circumstantial bullshit that happened, and it just kind of caught up with him last night. So.
Fair enough. Talking of bad cuts, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on the pod before, but one of the worst cuts I ever saw was back in Limerick in, it doesn't matter what the year is, maybe 2010. Lee Murtagh was fighting Anthony Fitzgerald for the Irish title. They'd already had a fight, which I think had ended controversially, and this was the rematch, and the cut, it ended on a clash of heads in the second round. The cut on Murtagh's head, it was in a similar position to the Badou Jack one. I've never seen anything like it. The blood was actually shooting out diagonally, and Murtagh sort of put his glove on his head and was like going, and turned around in a circle, and the blood shot out in a circle, so he was standing there with this sort of hoop of blood around him. I've never seen anything like it. It was truly bizarre.
Right. That must have been an artery job right there, brother.
It was bonkers.
I like that.
Yeah, it was coming out. It was actually shooting out diagonally. We were seeing it from ringside. I'm sure Dave Lee or maybe Don McNamara or somebody like that will remember that one. It was. Murtagh said afterwards it wasn't really that painful and it didn't require that many stitches. He was a cutter as it happened, so he's probably used to it. But I've never seen anything like it. It looked pretty painful. From where I was sitting, Ozzy, let's move on from that madness, shall we? Good to have you with us. We're talking about the undercard. I want to hear your opinion on that shortly. But first of all, I don't know if you heard the beginning of the show, Ozzy. You will no doubt be in agreement with us. AB outboxed Pacquiao last night. My man about billions got absolutely robbed. What's the sport coming to? Adrian can't even get a fair shake these days.
Completely agree. And yet again, we always talk about the judges and they're categorically robbed in only his eyes, because how the hell he thought he won that fight, I do not know. What was it? 50 punches over 12 rounds? Something absurd like that. And he thinks he won the fight. Absolutely a travesty. I think he threw 2 punches, it was said, in round 12. 2. I just don't get the guy. I mean, props to Dan Raphael after the in the post-fight press conference. Spoke to Dan Raphael about putting cheese on burgers, and if he knows he wants the cheese on the burger, he's going to have the cheese on the burger after, and that's why he felt he won the fight as well, because he felt he won the fight, and that's what he believed. I don't know if he's got some sort of. I just don't know what's going through his head for him to think, yeah, I've won more than I've won 6 rounds in 7 rounds. Fight, I just don't see it. He was poor. I think it played out to how a lot of us said last. Toner would. I mean, he was hurt, and I think he what's it called? It kind of worried him a bit. It went on the back foot, running away. Bear in mind, he's a shadow of what he was back in the comprehensively beating. What is he now? Pacquiao 40, 41. Adrian Broner, really. I mean, I think he'll still get the big fights, but do you back him to win? Probably not. because he just doesn't have the output. Let's go. As for Pacquiao, it's going to be interesting to see. I think he come out after and said that Floyd has absolutely no interest in basically, going full tilting in terms of a training camp. So it'll be interesting to see what Manny Pacquiao does next. I think I saw Gervonta Davis call him out. Can't see that happening whatsoever. So for the fight itself, Pacquiao, a more than worthy winner. Would have been nice for him to get him out of there, but as for Broner, just a complete waste of space. And he is talented, but has he made the most of it? Definitely not.
See when he started all that trolling shit about winning the fight and that, why did Jim Grano say, "Shut that soft ass shit up, you bastard"?
It won't show me. It won't.
Fire it back in his face. Fire it back in his face.
Yeah, for the person Broner is, though, it genuinely wouldn't have shocked me if he'd have put it on him. If he'd have said something like that.
Yeah,
well, he's that type of character.
Yeah, well, I've actually seen him pull shit like that, actually, some of the videos and that out in the street.
Yeah.
But guys,
he'd done 12 rounds and he hadn't put it on Pacquiao, so I think he was unlikely to put it on Jim Gray.
I don't get where he's. I mean, are people telling him? It's on delusion levels of Eubank, Chris Eubank Jr. In terms of, I feel I won the fight when you didn't do anything.
Look at his corner, wasn't he? They're all back slappers and clappers and, the classic hangers on.
They're there to massage his ego. They're not there to help him. They're there to massage his ego. And if he says, "Oh, yeah, I'm the best in the world," they'll be like, "Yeah, we completely agree. You're the best in the world. You've never lost a fight." It's a strange one, really. But I still think he'll still get the big fights, which means multi-million-pound paydays for him.
Yeah, fuck Mike Stafford while we're at it. Got no time for him either. I've got time for you though, rapping Rob Kelly. He's jumped on the call. Good to have you on with us, Rob. Talking a bit of AB. How many more paydays is old AB going to get? That's the question.
He'll probably get a few more, man. He definitely. We said this last week. Like Espinoza loves him. Showtime love him. And for some, he's already overachieved in terms of the fights that he's had on big platforms for the talent that he has. I'm not even buying the line that he has all the talent and he's wasted it. When the fuck has he showed it? He hasn't showed talent since he was at 135. Fucking choker. We were debating in the chat whether to stay up for this one. Me and Andy were having a bit of a chat there. Will we stay up? But I was like, you know what? It's going to be what we thought it was. Broner's going to get in there. He's not going to throw a punch for the whole fight. We're going to wake up tomorrow. It's going to be UD, Manny. And the only thing in his favor is that he has a bit of a beard, and I'm not talking about that beard he's been growing out, is that he has a chin, he can take a shot, but that's it, and it's frustrating watching him, because not that you'd be rooting for him, but just to make the fight more competitive. The right hand was there for him. He touched Manny a couple of times with the straight right hand, but he's been completely gun shy since Maidana took his soul. He hasn't had a good performance since Maidana, in my estimation. Guys like Ashley Tiafane and Granados are not doing anything for me, beating the likes of those and stopping the likes of those. Sean Porter beat him. Mikey Garcia beat him. Jesse Vargas is a draw, but Jesse, I thought, won that one as well. Manny beat him handily. And then to come out and say that he thought he won the fight. And I think I just jumped on, but I think you're making a good point about the corner. This is something I said about Broner for a long time ago. If he's that good, if he has that much talent, sack off the trainer and get somebody that you're going to listen to, because he's in the corner there last night and he said after the 11th round, "I won that round, right?" And there was silence, and he was like, "Right?" And they were like, yeah, you won that round, champ. No, he did. He won one round in the whole fight. Against a 40-year-old man, didn't hit him in the body once. This guy doesn't know what he's doing in the ring. He's there solely to pick up a paycheck, and he's happy enough to take the beatings. And he knows that opening up his mouth will get him another fight. Easily could get another fight against a Thurman, another Heyman guy there. Easily get another fight.
I said that earlier, Rob. He's like a high-class survivor now, isn't he?
Yeah, and he will get another fight because he knows how to open his mouth in press conferences. His performance in the press conferences for his last 5 fights has been more exciting than his performance in the ring. A flat-footed plodder. Diet Floyd. Don't even mention him and Floyd in the same sentence anymore. I think those comparisons are well gone anyway. But AB is a B-level fighter. And he's going to stay that. He might drop down to an AC level fighter.
Loving that.
So, yeah, I don't know. I've been saying that for a long time, and I saw someone saying it on Twitter, so I thought I'd bring it back. I think, but anyway, yeah. But look, Broner, no surprises. Manny, I wouldn't be ranting and raving about Manny either. at this stage. I think if he had a fraction of what he had left, he should have been able to do that to Broner, because Broner has shown nothing over the past 5 years to show that he can compete at the top level. Absolutely nothing. So victories over Matisse and Broner, to me, I know people are kind of like, Manny's fantastic, and I think his career peaked before Floyd. He's had a decent run since the Floyd fight, but like, I mean, that's not the best version of Bradley, not the best version of Matisse, and definitely not the best version of Broner. That he's beaten, and Hearn gave him hell, and you could say probably won that fight. But so I don't know if I'd want to see. Could he beat? He could probably beat a Keith Thurman. He could probably beat Sean Porter. He couldn't beat Errol Spence. I don't think he could beat Terence Crawford. He could probably beat Amir if Amir loses to. That'd be a fight that would be interesting in seeing Manny Pacquiao and Amir Khan. So there's fights there for Manny, but how long does he want to go on realistically? Like, he's won another version of a world title. If he keeps going against these young fellas, something bad's going to happen. It's going to end with a face plant somewhere along the line. Like, I think he's shown signs that he's diminished as well with his footwork and stuff. And I think he was a little bit messier than he normally is last night against Broner. Maybe that's Broner's style, bringing it out of him. But yeah, a predictable end, I suppose, to Pacquiao Broner in one of those fights that I wasn't on anybody's list, but out of curiosity, you watch it to see what happens. Like, so.
Rob, I'm liking this narrative you're putting forward, because I'm as guilty as anyone of saying that Broner is like this talented guy who's pissed it all away. But I think you're maybe arguing that possibly he wasn't that talented, and some of the performances, a lot of them are like weight bullying, aren't they, down below? He struggled against guys like Malignaggi, Daniel Ponce de Leon, some people thought beat him. So maybe the talent isn't there.
Yeah, I thought Ponce de Leon beat him. Yeah, I thought Ponce de Leon beat him, definitely. I know he beat up Antonio DeMarco, but just, again, like you said, weight bullying. Gavin Reese was his last performance, and Reese was a lot smaller than him. Like you said, struggle against Malignaggi. That fight could have easily been a draw. He should have had a point taken away in that one as well. So
struggled against Emmanuel Taylor.
I'll tell you another one. He got a majority decision victory on ESPN Friday Night Fights, and he actually should have lost the fight against Fernando Quintero. Let's go back to
another one. I remember that one as well. Yeah,
wasn't it Escalante he weight bullied as well? He came in way heavier, and he basically said, "I'm the A side motherfucker. You either take this fight 2 weight divisions below, or you ain't getting your pay." Don't you remember? That was horrible. That was the first time I thought this guy's an absolute wanker.
It was Escobedo, but
Escobedo. Sorry,
remember that we call Eloy Perez and that man. They fucking dwarfed that guy at super featherweight,
and he was also on cocaine.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, like I know. I would say, like, I've been saying this for a while. I don't think the talent's there. I think like people were building him up. Heyman was building him up. Ellerby was building him up. They were building him up to be the natural successor to Floyd as the shit talking guy who's the bad guy of the sport. Like, but the talent is just not there. Like, he's not. Ashley Theophane is your best win in the last 5 years, and then Jim Gregg handed him another L last night as well and said, "Look, you're 3-3 and 1 in your last 7 fights. Where do you go next?" It's the truth. You've lost 3 and drawn 1 of your last 7 fights. How are you even here? Jim was basically looking at him, and he was like, "Oh, I'm 7-0 against you." And Jim hit him with the, "Well, that wouldn't mean much." Absolutely brilliant. Like, absolute first class from Jim Gray. He's seen it all. He's been in with the best of them. He's been in with James Toney. He's been in with Mike Tyson. Adrian Broner is light work for Jim Gray. Like,
remember when he had to try and console Mike Tyson after he broke his back?
Yeah.
He's been there. Spinal injury.
How bad was the I don't want to digress, like, but how bad was the Rogan and Tyson podcast? That was very disappointing. I thought, like, I
only watched like half an hour of it, but they were too busy talking about DMT and drugs and stuff like that.
It was so boring. Like, Rogan tried to push him at one stage about, talking about fighting, and Mike is like, don't want to talk about fighting anymore. Like, he's no interest in fighting. He didn't watch Wilder Fury, and like, Rogan kept pushing him, and there was a part where he just thought the old Mike is just going to come back and tell him to go fuck himself any second, but it just didn't happen. Like, but yeah, very disappointed.
Well, let's move on, boys. We've got a packed panel. Rob's there with us, Adam Smith, Ozzy Smith as well, Gabe Lewis, Andy Patterson, and Dave the Hater Lowback. So we're going to have to box strategically from here on in, everybody. Otherwise, we might end up here all night. Let's go back to Friday night, shall we, Dave? I want to give a shout out to my main man, Oscar Rivas. I gave him short shrift on last week's show.
Shit.
Thought that his record was a little bit inflated, Dave. And last week in the YouTube comments, one of our glorious listeners was triggered by our lack of discussion on Jennings versus Rivas. So, Dave, to right this wrong, I want 30 minutes straight off you, Dave, with no hesitation, repetition, or deviation. Jennings versus Rivas. You ready?
Go on,
Steady?
Dave.
Go.
Well, round one, Jennings came out with the jab. Was left hooking off the jab, dropped Rivas early. Rivas did show some great heart to get back into it, worked the body throughout the rest of the round. Landed a low blow, which was pretty intentional. I think he was trying to catch a second wind there and escape. That was ultimately stopped at the end of the first round. A little early, in my opinion. He wasn't hurt that bad. He bitched in his corner for about 15 minutes after the fight. Another routine win for Bryant Jennings, the man who almost beat Vlad. So good.
29 minutes to go, Dave.
Good for the vegetarians. I do hope we see a rematch because I want to see that low blow again. And I didn't watch the fight.
That is fucking brilliant. That's brilliant.
Well done, Dave's quit on his stool. Andy, do you want to say anything about this? I'll tell you what, I'll give credit to Oscar Rivas, right? I loved that finish. This was his big chance. He looked solid to that point. Nice high guard, not a lot of head movement. Stylistically reminiscent of friend of the pod, Freza Kendo at times, I thought. This could have been Freza Kendo against Jamil Big Time McCly in part 2. But Rivas, this was his chance. This was his big opportunity, and he went out in the 12th round. His trainer, Mark Ramsey, said to him, go on, you need to go out and get this. And he did. He went out and he left nothing to chance. He saw his opponent was tired, and he took his opportunity. How many times, Andy, do we see fighters and they leave something in the tank? Howard Eastman against Bernard Hopkins. That's the one that comes to my mind immediately. Rivas said, no, this is my opportunity. I'm going to take it.
Yeah, I'll give him his due. I mean, I think it was losing the fight on the cards, or it was slightly.
He was the head on
ahead,
2, I think, wasn't he?
Is that what it was?
I think he was head on 2 and behind on 1.
I tell you, he's not great, right? He's not got like a head movement. He just plods forward, throws shots, but they're heavy shots and stuff. This was kind of really my first chance to really get a chance to look at him. Jennings, I mean, what can we say about Jennings? Other than the fact is, I just think he found his, he overachieved against Vlad.
He's shit, isn't he? Let's be honest.
Well, either that, he overachieved against Vlad, or fucking Vlad took him very, very lightly. Because I said, like, well, it was okay fight as such. I mean, fuck. I actually watched this. I watched this rather than watch Andrade actually. For 11 rounds and that, it was stop starter, shall we say. But then, the ending was pretty emphatic. Just as you say, his moment was there. Why leave it to the judges? It could have went either way, I suppose. But I think Rivas is going to get picked apart. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see Femi picking him up at one point in that as well if we didn't get the Fury Wilder fight made at some point. The guy's going to get absolutely obliterated. Wilder, Joshua, anybody at that level is going to fucking beat him. Big Briswell would beat him actually, I think, in my opinion as well. But that's for what that is. But at the end of the day, good stoppage.
He's in shape.
Jennings, yeah, he's in shape, but as I say,
it's unfortunately something you don't see very often in the modern heavyweights. So.
At this point, what is it? I'll tell you what, for a heavyweight, size-wise, he's no big. I think he looks like doesn't he look like he's 6'1" or 6'2"? And that he's
his reach, Andy, according to ESPN, his reach was like about 9 inches shorter than Jennings. I think that's why Jennings boxed a lot of it on the back foot.
Right. Very small guy. I'm going to say this, right? Okay, I read about him before the fight. He's been in a number of amateur tournaments and stuff like that. As I did say last week, though, I hadn't really kind of seen him as much, and this was my first chance to kind of get a look at him. And again, I don't rate Jennings. He's a decent enough boxer, but he just reminds me of fucking big Sloth Mitchell. Remember him, Seth Mitchell, the fucking NFL? He just reminds me of him actually.
There's nothing about him, Andy. In another era, he'd be like top 30, maybe. Nowhere near anything resembling a world title.
Any of his punches, Steve, didn't cause Rivas any problems? He didn't really seem to kind of hurt him? Didn't he seem to kind of make him change his mind about coming forward? Because that's all Rivas did. Rivas was fucking basically tried to cut off the ring unsuccessfully, but he just followed him all the ring, just basically wore him down, put the pressure on top of him, and in the end, when the moment came, he just fucking took it, and he took it pretty well. I'll give him his due, but that's all I can really say about it. Other than the fact is it was meh. That was it. You know.
Yeah. He was like a punch bag with a head on it. He just wore Jennings down by virtue of just following him constantly, and Jennings was just knackered by the end.
Yes, I mean, I dare say there's going to be fighters at heavyweight who he will probably serve up decent enough fight. I mean, I think he'd be a decent enough fight for likes of Hergovic, for example, Joe Joyce. I think they'd be good fights. You know, Hergovic is a straightforward puncher. You know, he punches in straight lines. Sorry, doesn't really kind of give you a lot of angles and stuff like that. So I think it'd be a good fight. You know, because Rivas comes forward, doesn't give you a lot of angles either. He doesn't get any much head or body movement. Joe Joyce is something similar. I just think, you know, for the guys, he might be the right opponent at the right time for him, because with that win, I don't know if Jennings is actually ranked with any of the bodies in that, but I would think he might get a top 10 ranking off the back end of that stoppage win.
Yeah, let's move on. I think Jennings was quite high with the WBO, to be honest. He seems like a nice guy, but I've no interest in seeing Jennings anywhere near world level again. Maybe he could be used as cannon fodder, as Andy mentioned, against a rising star or something like that. On the undercard, someone who's definitely rising, Gabe. Shakur Stevenson, 10-0 with 6 knockouts. He's maturing into a nice prospect, isn't he, Stevenson? He stood and he threw heavy shots when he needed to. He moved when he needed to. There's definite signs of progression. Now, his opponent hadn't been in the ring for about a year, I think, knocking on a year. I think he last fought in March 2018. But he was reddened around the face. He was beaten up and he didn't want it towards the end. And now top rank, they are the masters of sort of bringing in guys like Rosales. He was 22-1-1. The record looked nice, but like I said, he hadn't fought in so long, and he was maybe prime cannon fodder for someone like a Stevenson. But that said, Gabe, I am liking the look of Stevenson. He's maturing nicely.
Oh yeah, I agree with you 110%. He's actually one guy that I like to watch pretty closely. I would say out of the guys that are prospects, looking to make some moves within probably a 2-year range, top end before we either find out if they're average or if they're going to be the next crop of guys. It's this guy, and then for some reason, I've taken quite a liking to a kid from Golden Boy's stable, Ferdinand Korobian. I don't know really. I mean, the guy's not anything that incredible, but I just really like watching him fight. He seems like he's got a solid fundamental skills. It seems like he brings a little bit of quickness, a little bit of power. But I think those are two of the top guys that I'm watching right now that I want to see. Interested to see where they go. Stevenson has really hadn't looked bad to me in just about any fight that he's been in. I would like to see a little bit more go for the throat type attitude from him as he progresses. I think he can do it. I think the guy has enough quickness and enough power to put anybody out of their misery. I'd like to see him step up his maybe aggression just a little bit more, not to the point where he's being stupid with it, because I think he's definitely a guy that hasn't had his chin tested really yet. And if we get to that point, we'll know what's what. But yeah, he does. He looks sharp to me pretty much every time he gets out. I think a little bit of that is like you said, Top Rank's record building. They're the masters of making guys look like something, regardless of what they are or are not. They've done it with just about everyone that's been an up and coming guy that had big hopes to be a next star. You look at like a guy like Miguel Cotto, his early career, which it has a lot of recognizable names on it. Guys that Floyd Mayweather also fought whenever he was coming up.
The likes of Victoriano Souza. Do you remember Love More and Do and all them boys?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of similar names there. That's just one that popped into my head right off the top of the bat. But Top Rank's always been good, like you said, at matching people up. So I'm not ready to anoint him the next Jesus Christ or anything, but I do think he's going to be a solid fighter. And if he continues to progress and doesn't get too far, and to me, I like the guy because I don't see him acting like a jackass outside of the ring. When you're talking about some of the other prospects that you see, like Gervonta Tank Davis, and some of these newer guys, they're just always acting like fools outside of the ring. And so to me, it's nice to see a kid that seems like he's got his head on his shoulders straight, and also has the goods as a fighter to back all that up and make a real splash. So I enjoyed that fight. I thought it showed us a little bit more of him. I would say we probably got a solid year to go before we see him really, really step up to the point where we're talking about contention for a title. I don't think it'll be this year unless they really just want to throw him to the fire and see what happens. Not to say that he couldn't do well in that scenario, but I think, like I said, we probably got about a solid year to year and a half before we get a really, really, really good solid step up fight. Because he's only had not 10 or so fights.
10, yeah.
So yeah, interesting guy. I'll be curious to see where he goes.
Yeah, Top Rank, I think the matchmaker might be Bruce Trampler, but they might have a look at their matchmaking process after last year. I know they threw Christopher Diaz in against Masayuki Ito. He hadn't got the experience. He lost Alex Saucedo as well, although he was always hanging on a cliff edge. You could see against Lenny Z. He wasn't that good, got thoroughly outboxed by Maurice Hooker. So Top Rank, they have to throw the guys in at some point and get them some level of experience, because if they're going to push them along towards a title at 20-0 and they've fought not tomato cans, but guys like me and Gabe were talking about, like Rosales, who look statistically pleasing on paper, but maybe have been out the ring a long time or have fought lesser level of opposition, then the prospect can get found out when they get up to world level. Right, Smido, let's stick to Friday night, but hot foot over to the Madison Square Garden Theatre. I think it's somewhere you've been before, actually, for Chocolatito. Was it you in Madison Square Garden, were you, Smid?
No, I think they had the weigh in there, didn't they, for Golovkin?
Oh, right, I knew you were there at one point.
Yeah.
But there was a show on Friday night, which I don't think you were at, featuring the one and only middleweight destroyer. He's in Belyeu of the week later, saying he's the best middleweight out there, baby. And anyone who saw him on Friday night would maybe disagree. Demetrius Andrade, I'm talking about 26, 27-0, defending against former Billy Joe Saunders victim Artur Akhuvov, WBO middleweight title, which was once in Saunders' possession as well, was on the line. Tell me about the stoppage, because I was in Boston last year, obviously in October, to see James Tennyson against Tevin Farmer. There was a little bit of contention from Tennyson's team about the stoppage. I wasn't too bothered about it, but Arthur McCanty Jr. was the referee. I spoke to McCanty Jr. in the hotel, and he had a reputation, I think, because he actually mentioned to me another fight where people had complained that he'd stopped it too early. So it seems to be a running theme. Andy was mentioning Pernell Whitaker beforehand as well. But it was an interesting stoppage because Akhuvov was taking his lumps. But when McCanty intervened, it did seem premature. And then McCanty, for some reason, persisted for about a minute, chasing Akhuvov around the ring, trying to put his arms around him. Akhuvov wanted absolutely none of it. And, I mean, the team were livid. It just seemed like it was a little bit too early, to me. Smid, what do you think?
Well, it was way too early. I mean, how it played out in mine, I watched it Saturday morning, and after about 8 rounds, I was bored, right? So I'm fast-forwarding it on time 6. And then I just played the last round. I thought, something might happen. Akhuvov, by some miracle, might go for it. He didn't. Watched the last round, and then it was just like I just couldn't believe my eyes. Like, I know we moan about stoppages and judges and this, that, and the other, but this was just, I could not believe my eyes. There's 30 seconds to go on the clock. I think Andrade's hitting with some sort of hook, and Akhubov's on the move anyway. Wasn't even staggered, didn't have his head rocked or anything like that. And the ref stepped in, and I was just like, what? Like, I just paused it and rewatched it again. We can't dwell on that too much, because I'm just going to sound foolish trying to explain how bad it was.
Does he think Akhuvov's taken too much of a beating? Is that his thought process?
Well, Akhubov was on the back foot all night long, Steve. I mean, he wasn't doing it a lot. He probably lost, every round. I mean, I don't know if there's an argument it can be made that he won any round, but, because he was on the back foot and on the move and still had his faculties about him, he didn't take that many flush shots. And that leads on possibly to a criticism of Andrade. I mean, it was obvious that Akhubov's ambition wasn't there from quite early on. Although I think that Andrade was trying, he was trying to press the action and land some big shots and trying to impress, given that the opportunities that could strike him in the middleweight division, especially on the zone. And he didn't particularly do it, which is a shame. I mean, he was trying to go to the body, Andrade, which I quite liked. I think he should have done more of that in the second half of the fight. And his attacks were quite vicious down there to start with when he did go down there. But I don't think he did enough of that. I was watching it and trying to work out Andrade. I've not seen all that much of him, but none of us have really, because he's been inactive until.
Do you know what I think his problem is, Smido? And this might sound like a really stupid thing to say. I don't think he likes getting hit. Obviously, no boxer likes getting hit, but his style, the way I saw him up close and I've watched him in a few fights, he's very negative when he doesn't need to be. Whenever he opened up against Vanis Martirosyan, he got hurt, I seem to remember, and he got knocked down. He's very, very safety first. Even when he had that caught on Dokwa down a few times, and I mentioned it last week. He throws a shot, Andrade, and his first instinct is to get out the way of any return fire. He doesn't like engaging. He doesn't want to be hit.
Yeah, no, I can completely get that. I mean, I was watching it thinking that an on form, the guy you've got in the ring in Canada, Billy Joe Saunders, I would have fancied him to beat Andrade. I know that was in terms of the odds, that was a bit of a coin flip at the time, and I probably would stick by that. Yeah, I think that I was just trying to work him out because, like I say, Akubov wasn't doing a lot. It's hard to try and work out for someone like me how good Andrade would be against the top kiddies, because Akubov obviously isn't a top bloke in the division. So it was kind of difficult to assess. It got boring after a bit. It got repetitive, and then the stoppage was just. I couldn't believe what I was watching really. The opportunities are there for Andrade, but unless Golovkin signs up to the zone, are they going to go down the Billy Joe Saunders route again when he served his ban or whatever?
Yes, I think Eddie said that he's going to be next.
Yeah, I'll be more than happy with that. I'll be more than happy with that, because Andrade is obviously a talent. But how old is he now? He's had this inactivity. How old is he? 30 odd.
I think he's 29. Is he 30 maybe? 30. He's 30.
I mean, I think the last time we spoke about him on the pod, that he's absolutely typical fast car Eddie 101. Someone who's been inactive, hasn't got a particularly big following, well, if at all, and then they get him, 2 fights in quick succession, and then he'll get another date for April or May or whatever it may be. Absolutely, Essex 101 that is, and he's fit perfectly into that little early door strategy when they sign someone. But yeah, I'd be happy to see the Billy Joe fight next.
Yeah, if Andrade fights Golovkin, I don't think it would end too well for him. Same against Alvarez as well. I'm not sure about Charlo now. I'm off that bandwagon. I wouldn't see Andrade beating Danny Jacobs either. I think anyone with a bit of mobility and someone who hits hard. Could you imagine Golovkin ramming that jab in his face? If you don't want to get hit, you don't want to fight someone like Golovkin. I don't think Andrade can stay out of the way for 12 rounds. Rob, on the undercard, super bantamweight, TJ Doheny has broken the Japanese stranglehold on the IBF super bantamweight title when he beat Iwasa, defended against this Ryoho Takahashi. We knew from his record, from who he'd been in with, that he was a bit of a gimme for Doheny. Don't begrudge him that whatsoever. I know Tyrone McCullough's been calling out Doheny. He seems to fancy that fight.
Saw that, yeah. I think it had something to do with Doheny saying that McCullough's not in the same planet as him, and a fight between the two of them is ridiculous. And I saw McCullough saying on Twitter that he'd been keeping it respectful up to this point, but now he wants to embarrass Doheny. So possibly a good domestic clash for the Irish fight fans down the line. As far as Doheny, yeah, I wouldn't begrudge him a gimme. He took the title the hard way. Like we spoke about last week, he turned pro out in Australia when he was over there after emigrating to work, like a lot of other Irish people who are living in Australia at the moment. And he saw a chance for a better life through boxing, and he's after becoming a world champion. So great story. Rumours that he's out again on this card with Katie Taylor and John O'Carroll. That's going to be announced for March in Philly. So hopefully he sticks around for a while. Don't know much about the opponent that he had. Kind of expected him to beat him, but again, he's had his second world title fight now, and he's 2-0 in world title fights. So hopefully he gets a good test in March and we get to see what he's like. But yeah, it's a pity for him because he's over here, he's built his career in Australia, and over here there's no buzz about him whatsoever. The man in the street doesn't know who he is, which is highly unusual when you think about Irish world champions. They're normally very popular at home. So yeah, he's a bit of an anomaly in that aspect. In that, obviously he's known in his hometown and stuff, but like I said, the man in the street doesn't know who TJ Doheny is, and I don't mean to sound like an Eddie Hearn saying that. So I'd like to see him continue to build his profile, and hopefully get some recognition over here for becoming a world champion, because he's pulled off a hell of a feat there.
Rob, are you expecting an IFL with Eddie going through the streets of Port Leash asking people if they know who TJ is?
Do you know what? Like, I'm hesitant to say anything about Eddie because there was some plonker in the comments again this week saying that we're trolling Matchroom and that we always have to hate on Eddie and it's getting boring now and get out of your ma's bedroom. Let me tell you something, pal. I'm not my ma's bedroom. I got my own house with 4 bedrooms in it and a big garden. So if you want to come over and help me do the garden someday instead of bullshitting on YouTube comments, you're more than welcome. All right. I'm not living in my ma, and even if I was living in my ma's room, that would make a difference about telling the truth, right? And we'll get to that later when we come to Bellews of the Week. But it's not an Eddie Hearn agenda. We hate on all the promoters equally. Heyman, Aram, Warren, Hearn. It just so happens that Hearn is the biggest bullshitter out of all of them. And we have to call it. So
there you go, Rob dropping truths. I just imagine all of us sort of living in Cindy Lowback's basement or something, locked away there. But no, unfortunately, it's not true. Ozzy, tell me about Jorge Linares. I was going to say that this was maybe an upset of sorts, but we know Linares, what he's like. I tell you what, he deserves a loss for that ponytail, if nothing else. But anyway, he looked like he was made of glass, Ozzy. Every time he got hit, he got wobbled. And Cano said, right, this is it. I'm just going to go for him. Because Linares, he's when he's on top, I think his punches flow so nicely. He's so fast. He's so skillful. He hits hard, but he has to get on top of you. And if you bully him, especially early, you can catch him cold. And fair play to Cano. We didn't give him a chance last week, but he might have sent this talented yet fundamentally flawed fighter into a possible retirement here.
Yeah, quite possibly. I think for Linares, if he is to come back, he probably has to box Cano again, just to, get this shock defeat out of his system, if you were to call it. I think it was a huge upset and a huge surprise. I didn't see anybody giving anybody any hope for Cano, but what he did look, I thought, and I was... I'm not saying I thought anything of the sort because I didn't, but Cano was relaxed. He looked like he was coming into the ring, he felt like, just enjoying the situation. And he came into the ring and he just put it on Linares and he demolished him. And I completely agree, Steve, in the fact that it's like he had no punch resistance. Any shot that landed relatively clean, Linares struggled and he was hurt. Now, we have seen him wiped out like this before completely, and we've got to remember is that Linares was having a more than difficult time with Kevin Mitchell until Mitchell had a grotesque eye injury and really took over. It's going to be interesting to see what he does now. I mean, Linares, he was saying it's like a fresh start for him up at 140, but it was also still looking at potentially going on because he wanted the Lomachenko fight back down at lightweight again. I think we can definitely say bye-bye to that now. It's going to be interesting to see if he does decide to retire because that's enough. I think it's fair to say that he's had an excellent career, one to be proud of. And I agree, Stephen, that when he gets into a rhythm and he does let his punches go and his hands go, they're super fast and he's excellent to watch. But he loses a lot of points for that awful bun thing he had on it as in terms of a haircut last night. Awful. But no, a real shock and a major upset. I think they were potentially lining up a Maurice Hooker fight as well. Well, again, that's gone out the window. And it's probably back to the pecking order unless somebody uses Linares as a name, to propel themselves up to a potential world title shot down the line. And just touching on the undercard, that TJ Dahoney, he's already got his fight lined up next. It's a unification with Daniel Roman. That's on that John O'Carroll bill.
That'll be a good fight. I like Roman. He's a decent operator, very skilled.
Yeah, so that's already been signed and done and dusted. So I think that's going to be announced probably this week. So it's interesting. It's one of them as Hearn just signed him up literally just to stick him in with Roman. We'll give you a 2 or 3 fight deal, something like that. But yeah, he's had this essentially, this knockover job in the Japanese guy last night, and now it's straight back into camp, ready for Daniel Roman.
Yeah, it's good work from Eddie there. I think he's managed to pick him up against the Japanese guy. Nice defense. Say there's another world title fight on the show, and now he's throwing him in the unification. I think that's pretty savvy work from Eddie, definitely. Also on that card, Chris Algieri got a win against Daniel Gonzalez. Didn't see it. Amanda Serrano, I think she's like a 6-weight world champion on it, something now. All WBOs. She was last seen fighting and winning the vacant WBO super lightweight title. So naturally, her next fight is down to win the vacant WBO super flyweight title. She's also won titles at bantamweight, super bantamweight, featherweight, lightweight. It is ridiculous, like, but she knocked out Eva Voraberger anyway in the first round. So that's the end of that one. Right, Gabe, I'm going to have to hit you with some hard truths now. Declan Graffin brought it to my attention. We were talking last week about the reasoning for the PBC leading into the Jose Uzcategui fight against Caleb Plant after the NFL or whatever it was they were doing there, and you weren't too happy about that decision. Uzcategui obviously lost his IBF title against Plant by unanimous decision. He was dropped down a couple of times as well. Declan Graffin jumped in. Gabe taking L's. Do you want to respond, Gabe?
No, I did. That's a solid fucking L, man. I mean, from what I saw, the numbers were much better than I anticipated them to be, and I was wrong. There's no covering this shit up. I mean, I'll take a pat of the face on this one. Yeah, I was wrong.
What about Plant? He looked decent, didn't he, Gabe, in spurts?
Yeah, I think so. I think his little Mayweather impersonation is going to get his ass beat at some point. I mean, he's a solid fighter. Don't get me wrong, but fucking fight, man. Come on. Whenever he was fighting, he was looking good. Whenever he's backing up, trying to play defense and stuff, and trying to be pretty, he just got smacked around a little bit. I thought Uzcategui looked a little bit off. I don't think it was so much that he. I mean, it was a combination of what Plant was doing, but he just didn't look like we'd seen him look in the past. But I thought he connected on plenty of punches, enough to keep the fight interesting to where you thought, well, maybe at some point he's going to land a big one and maybe make him get a little bit wobbly or something, maybe have a chance to put him down. I just thought it was a solid card of fights. Of course, I was always happy to see the Jackal on there. But yeah, I thought overall my comments, I guess I was just way off. I didn't assume that many people would be watching it. But it had a good turnout apparently. So fair play. I'll take my L like a man.
Gabe, I'm not sure about the solid card of fights. The Jackal, surely they could have found a better opponent for him. And also Ahmed El Biali. I know they're trying to rebuild him after the Pascal loss, but Jesus Christ, digging up the ghost of the dead body of Alan Green and pumping a bit of life into it. I mean, that was just horrific. That fight.
That was poor. That was bad.
Well, I guess decent as far as some of the names that were on it. Maybe the actual matchups weren't probably as solid, but having a card from start to finish with some recognizable names. But then, like you said, that Alan Green fight was pretty awful. I felt bad watching that. Alan Green was always a pretty solid cat. And I thought he was doing pretty well against Kessler. That's the last fight I remember really watching with Alan Green in it.
That was about 7 or 8 years ago, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, goddamn right it was. And he got starched out cold.
Yeah, he got iced. He dropped Kessler. First time Kessler, the only time Kessler been dropped in his career, and he got fucking iced. I tell you how bad it was. Kessler was actually celebrating before he even hit the canvas, by the way.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, Kessler had his arms up running to the corner.
Yeah.
He knew as soon as he landed, perfect left hook.
Gabe, do you remember when he fought against Edison Miranda? He was more Alan Yellow than Alan Green because he ran that much. And Miranda stood in the middle of the ring and done a wanking sign at him, didn't they? Do you remember? He might as well have been on a frigging unicycle.
I don't remember that one. I guess I'll have to go back to the archives and see if I can get a hold of that one. So that was, I'll definitely have to check that one out. I always liked Alan Green. I always thought he was a pretty solid cat, like I said.
No, you need to revise that opinion. I think.
Every time he got hit, it was close to being over the other weekend, so that was pretty bad. And then, of course, Rigondeaux, he slapped this guy one time and it was done. But I guess maybe I was letting the Plant fight cloud my view a little bit because I thought the Plant Uzcategui fight was pretty decent. It wasn't something that put me to sleep. So anyway, yeah. Overall thoughts. I enjoyed the main fight. I enjoyed seeing Rigondeaux back, but I was way off. The numbers that they put out seemed to show that there was quite a few viewers, and it did a lot better than I thought it would. So fair play. PBC, I guess they know more than me for now.
Warhammer and War PBC, Belyeu of the Weeks are coming up later, everybody, plus a few questions from our esteemed listeners. Andy, one fight that just slipped onto the radar for me and you just before we went live, Andrew Selby is boxing out in Mexico next weekend against Julio Cesar Martinez Aguilar. Never heard of him, but he's 12-1. Selby, yeah, he was on the cusp of a world title fight at one point. This it's there's no rounds given or anything or any title at the moment. Do we have any more information about this one?
Oh no, mate, it's meant to be a 12-rounder. Other than that, it's supposedly meant to be a final eliminator for WBC title. So,
which is held by Charlie Edwards, who beat Christopher Rosales just before Christmas.
Yep, I tell you what, it's a fair distance to go and get a world title eliminator. I mean, who was his? Was he with? Wasn't it Hennessy? Who was it? He was with
Sanigar, McGuigan and Sanigar and all them, wasn't he?
So
yeah, Martinez is ranked number 3, I think, or number 2, isn't he?
He was with Cyclone.
That's right.
Yeah.
And now, what's it called? Sanigar do look after him. I actually messaged a couple of people who are based in Wales just to see if they know anything about this. And they hadn't heard anything. So he was scheduled like the back end of last year to have a fight, and that never went ahead. So it'd be one of them to keep an eye on to see if it actually does. Because I know he's Jamie Sanigar's actually won a purse bid for the European title down at flyweight for Andrew Selby. I'm just pulling it up now.
Is that Lengard? Is he the champion at European level?
Yeah,
the Frenchman.
Yeah. A tough fight that would, I think.
Yeah, so they're just awaiting a date, but it looks like they've been awaiting a date for bloody hell 6 months now. So again, is that going to go ahead? I'm not too sure.
I'm going to have to say something here then, because if Boxing have got this listed as a WBC final eliminator, you would think the WBC are going to have fucking something to say. If this fight's no signed, sealed. I mean, the thing is, it's come right out of the blue. I've heard nothing being spoken about. I've heard, like say, some of the podcasts I listen to, people in the know, never heard anything about this. It's just these guys are ranked 1 and 2 the WBC. It's going to look. Any day, if the fight doesn't happen, if for whatever reason, if people don't hear anything about this fight happening, Selby's going to get bombed out of their rankings, and then fucking Edwards going to have to fight this guy Martinez, whatever his fucking name is. So. As you say, I want to watch.
I want to see him fighting. Ozzy, that's all there is. I think he's too talented to sit on the sidelines.
I wouldn't be surprised if it. But an excellent test for him as well. Like, go outside his comfort zone. I mean, there's been question marks about his temperament and that as well. So go abroad, go to the toughest place of all time. Fucking, especially at that weight. These guys at fucking Mexico are absolute hard bastards who are
holes in the piss tubes, as Christina McMahon said to us.
Exactly. So fucking, it would be a good test. So as you say, if there's been no word there, especially locally, it'd be bad. I think it would be bad form actually, because I think his career would need something like this. Think about it: go to Mexico, win a final eliminator against a Mexican for a world title shot against a Brit. That'd be fucking amazing.
I've just gone on Selby's Twitter now, actually, just to see, if he's uploaded any pictures. And he retweeted something from when the purse bid was won, and that was back on the 22nd of December, 2018. And the winning bid of $60,000. It doesn't say who by, but that surpassed TGB Promotions bid of $45,000. And that was for this exact fight. Andrew Selby against Julio Cesar Martinez.
So that would be 60-40 or 70-30% split there?
Yeah, how is that? I presume it's because the number one who gets the favoured split then. Otherwise, I mean, neither of them hold any silver belts which give them any preferential treatment, do they?
Ozzy, according to Twitter, TGB Promotions are an American organisation from Sherman Oaks, and they seem to be one of these PBC proxy promoters.
Is it Tom Browne?
Yeah,
I thought so. So I mean, it's not a lot of money, is it? In reality, being brutally honest, obviously flights.
Why do you think Eddie Hearn managed to bring a world champion over for fucking free Sky because it's cheap division?
Well, it's why they managed to bring Rosales over for Paddy Barnes as well. Because in the grand scheme of things, for a world title shot, the small weights cost utter peanuts. So it's women's boxing. Women's boxing is the same as well. I saw that Amanda Serrano talking. She was boxing for world titles, and her purses were $1,000. $1,000 for a world title.
Eddie Hearn will try to sign her up right now, by the way.
I think he has.
For Katie Taylor, he wanted to fight Katie Taylor.
Being lined up for Katie Taylor.
$1,000, that's like a Latvian coming over, isn't it, as a journeyman?
It's about $500 more than a women's boxing match is worth.
But no, in all seriousness, Steve, journeyman, like someone who comes over, their purse can be anything from €1,000 up to, depending on who they put in with. So I know when Chisora came over, he was in with a couple of puddings. They might get €4,000 or €5,000 or something like that.
If it's on a bigger undercard or something, yeah.
Yes, yeah. But when I was at a Cyclone show, it was Josh Taylor against Dave Ryan. I was in the away changing room. There was a couple of journeymen in there, and their purses were, I think that Jakub Gospic against Nick Webb got €1,000 or €1,500. A couple of others got similar amounts as well, plus that usual hotel, one trainer.
It's not bad, is it?
I mean, well, this is why they do it, isn't it? Because you can make half decent money. Everything's thrown in. And if you can keep on fighting and not getting stopped, I mean, you're getting purses from it's not many places where you can go and earn, I mean, it's difficult, but £1,000 a week upwards, if you can stay fit and, not get cuts, not get stopped, you can fight 4 times a month. And it's why you see so many journeymen who've had 250 fights, but they can mourn and earn the keep rather than being the home fighter and, having the burden of selling tickets and potentially boxing for nothing, but all you are is the home fighter.
Once a year, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah, you can see why people do go on the road. Smitho, I'll be coming to you in a minute with a question from Dom McNamara. He's asking you about who's the toughest bastard you've ever seen in boxing, someone who takes a beating and continues to scrap on. I'll be coming to you in a minute, though, Smitho. Don't hit me with that one just yet. Also, hey to Dave, coming to you on Thurman against Josecito Lopez. Emmanuel Tago's boxing next Saturday evening against Vyacheslav Gusev. It's for the vacant IBF International Lightweight title in Accra, Ghana. Why on earth are you telling me about this, you might ask? Well, I clicked on Tago earlier because I've been keeping an eye on him. He lost his debut in 2004 and he's gone 29 fights undefeated since, and he's knocking on the door of a title. But he looks the absolute spit of O'Hara Davis. Go and look him up on BoxRec. Emmanuel Tago. I thought it was O'Hara Davis, but there you go anyway. There's a little side note. Right, Dave, let's get back to the serious stuff. You're the man for the job. Keith Thurman returning after God knows how long it was, nearly 2 years out the ring against Josecito Lopez. Yeah, you're here, aren't you, Dave? Yeah, sorry, I thought you jumped off then. It's Saturday the 26th of January in Barclays Centre, PBC. A few fights of interest on the undercard. But tell me about Thurman, Lopez. This is just to get him back eased in, isn't it, Thurman? Do the distance, try and get the shoulder running, make sure that it's okay, it doesn't come out again. You're going to forgive him a fight like this, aren't you, Dave?
Sorry, Steve, you cut out there for a sec. What was the question?
Oh, sorry, I was just talking about Thurman coming back against Lopez. You would forgive him an opponent like Lopez just to ease him back into the game?
Yeah, it's tough because I hate the fight. But, I mean, I guess because he's been out for surgery and whatever injury, it's bad, though. Like Lopez got brutalized by Berto. Was that, the last time we saw him? That was poor. Yeah, I'm not liking this, but whatever. Hope if he could get it done and then fight again 3 months later, that'd be nice. Although I doubt we'll see anything like that.
There you go, short and sweet from Dave. On the undercard, Andy, I'm liking the look of this Tugsot Nyambayar. He's a Mongolian featherweight. He's 10-0. I think he's got about 8 or 9 knockouts. He can definitely punch. There's a vacant IBO featherweight title on the line, which always ticks a box for me. I'm a big fan of the IBO. He's going in against Claudio Marrero. Hopefully, Tugsot can get rid of Marrero and then maybe push himself into a fight with one of the big boys. He could be an interesting addition to the featherweight division.
Nyambayar, yeah, I mean, I forget what Olympics it was at actually. It might have been even the British one actually, but in 2012, I think he got to the final at least. I can't remember who it was he fought, but good amateur, good numerous titles, for whatever that counts for. WSB experience. He even beat the guy O'Bally as well at one point. I remember seeing that the guy who won last night against Roshi Warren. Very, very good fighter. Probably turned over at the right time to us actually as well. He's probably about 26, so you'd be talking about he is coming into his full strength at the minute. The guy he's fighting, to be honest, I recognise the name. I don't remember who it was that he actually fought. I just pulled up his record there. It was possibly, remember the Jorge Lara fight, first round knockout. But
he upset Lara, who was supposed to be a bit of a prospect, wasn't he?
to be honest, but I can't mind. As I says, the name does ring a bell, but it just
because Lara
really,
smashed Montiel. He looked brilliant. He was supposed to fight in one of the Frampton undercards. He had a bit of problems. I think he might have got shot or something, which is obviously a problem. He came back, supposed to get rid of Marrero. Marrero caused the upset. I think that's what it was.
Right. So I just pulled up his record there as well. This guy's obviously been on the course. He's fought Ray Robinson, Conceição. He's fought Rigondo in the amateurs. I suppose it might be a decent enough fight. As I say, I can't base an opinion on it actually, because I say I didn't know too much about Claudio Marrero, but just looking, just very briefly, just pulling up the records there and stuff like that, I think it might be a competitive fight. So I can say about it actually, in all honesty.
And forget about that. Tell me about Thurman then. What do you think about my line of questioning to Dave? Are you going to give him a pass for this one? You know, see how the body holds up?
Well, let's put it this way. I think we've all kind of questioned as to whether Thurman's really into the boxing game or not. I really don't know. You know, he likes to talk. He's had surgery. He's got married. He's getting his dick wet. You know, he's got money. All these PBC fighters, especially back when it first started, the PBC gravy train. You know, all these fighters were getting the Benjamins. I can't. Okay, he's been out for surgery. Sorry, he's fighting Josecito Lopez, who's been recycled more times than a fucking plastic bottle. Lomachenko comes back and fights Pedraza, unification fight. Is that any different or any better as to Josecito Lopez? I think it's better actually, because I think Lopez is, you know, as Dave says, he's been beat up by Berto. You know, Berto at that point was probably even not even way past his prime, but you know, he just wasn't elite level. Maidana's, you know, kicked his arse. Canelo, I think, maybe beat him as well. I think at one point. Okay, he beat Ortiz and stuff, but I just think again he's one of these fighters who always, when he had to step it up, he always came up short. He's just a gatekeeper, and it's just clearly a tune-up fight. Which I suppose, you know, Dave's Dave, but I think Thurman probably at this point needs to have a tune-up fight. If he's had surgery or had to get his shoulder reconstructed or whatever, of course he needs to have a fucking tune-up fight. So I think we can give him this one. But in the back end of this and that as well, is I think if Floyd against Pacquiao is not going to happen, then WBA are going to call for that, probably for that unification fight, or their WBA unification fight between him and Pacquiao.
Also on the undercard, a few bits and pieces. The Russells, Antonio Russell, Gary Antoine Russell, Marcellus Wilder as well. Could be one to keep an eye on. Adam Kovnacki, Polish heavyweight, is going in against Gerald Washington. That's not a bad fight, actually. There's some decent fights in this. Thurman Lopez isn't great, but Kovnacki against Washington and Nyambiar against Marrero could be decent scraps. So shout out to the PBC as usual. War Al Heyman. Right, Smido, that question from Don McNamara. He said, who has not just got the best chin in boxing now or in the past, but who in your eyes, Smido, is the toughest bastard that can take a beating off of someone and still scrap on? For me, says Dom, it's Wayne McCullough. Amateur and pro, fought through so much. Thanks for the pod, also best in the world, he said. I was thinking someone like a George Chavarlo, maybe the old heavyweight. Ruslan Provodnikov, just a hard bastard. Takes beatings and just keeps coming back.
I was thinking Shannon the Cannon. He got absolutely batterooned by Klitschko and kept coming back in that particular fight. Nearly died. Probably should have been stopped by that referee that's got an English passport. The likes of Rios. I was thinking my mate from Nottingham, the Cobra. I think it's easy to give examples of particular fights where people have been battered but basically stayed on their feet. But I think another way of looking at the question might be if there's fighters that have been battered in maybe one particular fight and then managed to, you know, fight their way back up to the top or the level where they were before. Mr. Pacquiao might be one of those. That night where Marquez flattened him, and I've said this many times before, that's the one and only time I have feared for a boxer's life, having watched it live. I thought he was in big trouble, seriously. And he's come back to obviously beat 4 weight world champions like Adrian the Problem Broner. But yeah, there's there'll be sure to be other examples that the likes of Rob and Andy can fill in.
Gatti,
yeah. I'll give you one who wasn't even like elite or world level. Marion Wilson, remember him?
Who's that?
Marion Wilson.
I know the name. Who did he fight?
He ended up retiring with a 12-41-4 record. He was never knocked out, right, with 41 defeats. He fought almost all the heavyweights back in the day. He fought Biggs, Botha, Golota, Mercer. Remember the Croatian boy that fucking Lewis fought? Kurt Johnson.
Oh, yeah,
Briggs.
Zelko Magrovic. Or whatever
Aye.
you call him. Yeah.
He fought Iabuchi, the Cat Williams, Sanders, Page,
That's right, yeah.
Sellers, Jefferson. Oh, man, Brackman.
Great shout. Great shout. There you go, Smith. That's a good one, isn't it?
I got two. I got
Go on.
James Toney, the guy who would take a
Yeah.
surreal battering and still win the fight.
Hagler.
And then also, Hagler, tremendous chin. Also,
LaMotta.
Antonio Margarito.
Oh, yeah.
That guy would lose round after round of just getting his head bounced around and still keep coming forward.
Yeah.
Okay, another one.
Huge fan of the guy, but
Mickey Ward.
Yeah, good shout. Oh, what about how I've got Jesus Soto Carras and Injin Chi.
Oh, aye.
Salido,
Yep. Salido.
Salido, yeah.
Francisco Vargas, fellas like that. I mean, when you see them in fights where they're leaving it all in the ring, like, you know what I mean?
Ali, one of the greatest chins of all time.
Yep.
You know what I'm going to say as well, Rob? Eric Morales, he just went to the well time and time again. You have to be a hard bastard, just constantly finding it, digging deep every single time. Eric Morales for me.
Marciano, Quavallo.
Yeah.
Diego Corrales.
Oh, I'll tell you another one. Kid Gavilan.
What about Kid Galahad?
Aye.
Nah. Steve,
There we go.
Basilio, Jake LaMotta.
Basilio as well.
Well, if you go to the old school days, I mean, everybody.
Yeah, George Chevalier,
Aye.
I said as well. Yeah.
Aye, with 4 or 6 ounce mitts as well. We fucking probably with plaster of Paris and the gloves and that. Aye, fucking yeah, chins, God chins, man.
Right, let's move on. Talking of Warriors,
Steve.
Ozzy, we neglected to mention this last week. D-Dog reminded us that Prince Patel, one of the greatest warriors of all time, was recently crowned the unified UBO and WBF world champion in Morrison's pub in Budapest. Bit disappointed, says D-Dog, that Prince didn't get his props on the podcast. He knocked out Ronald Ramos, who was 41-17-4, no less than 31 fights on that card as well. So plenty of value for money all round.
Yeah, we can only apologise to the Prince. His fight was that meaningful. It wasn't even on BoxRec, and it was only uploaded 4 days after the result was registered. So, yeah, I mean, what can I say? Ronald Ramos, 42 years old, from Colombia. I'm sure he has challenged for a world title. I'm sure he has, and that was what it was pushed out as. I saw a picture of him after the fight, and that Ramos looked an absolute corpse. He looked horrendous. And what can I say? The Prince is marching on. He's notched up another win now. Was it 18-0, 1 draw? And he is the king of Eastern Europe. He's knocking all these guys out. I mean, Morrison's pub in Budapest, that well-known arena. What can I say? It's on the wish list of every boxer when they turn to the pro game. Let's turn over and fight and headline a show at the Morrison's pub.
But Ozzy, you have to ask yourself this philosophical question. If the Prince knocks someone out and it's not registered on BoxRec until 4 days later, did the Prince knock anyone out at all?
Well, there is photographic evidence, so there must be something in it. I mean, I'm just looking at the card now. Fuck me. 30-odd fights. Jesus. I mean, there's typical names that crop up on that. Ferenc Albert, he's been over to the UK a number of times. And
I saw him getting knocked out by Jamie Cox. This is where they build the records in these shows, isn't it?
No, you're right. I mean, so Ferenc Albert, 26 wins, 16 losses, has fought a guy on debut up at cruiserweight and knocked him out in a round. And
they'll bring him over somewhere in England or Ireland or wherever and say, oh, he's won his last 3 and he knocked someone out in the first round.
Yeah, that's exactly that. And they build them on these little I say little, that's an understatement. These cards in the homeland against just utter garbage. And but like you said, they build up some wins. They get to some of them get 16-1. They come over and look at this record. And in reality, they're absolute pants. But yeah, I don't really know what Prince Patel's game plan is really, because he can't be earning money from this. I mean, what did he have last year? Did he have about 14 fights, something like that. He can't be earning much cash. I just don't see how. I mean, he's fighting nobody of note. He fought a couple of debutants last year as well. Who is putting the money up? I mean, whilst it's not expensive to fly out to places like Budapest, it's still costing him your cash. So, I mean, unless he's got just a wealthy sponsor who genuinely believes he can go on to do something.
Must be waiting for a big cash out, isn't he? Like just a big opportunity to, pay it all off.
Well, apparently he was offered a fight with Sonny Edwards last year, and it was turned down by Patel. So I don't know how true that is, but I mean, if he's turning down fights like that, what is he genuinely expecting? But he is ranked in the top 15 with the WBO now because he fought for one of their WBO European belt last year, and I think he's now ranked by the IBF. So building this record has actually gained him 2 world rankings.
That's what he's doing.
Regardless of who he's against. So unless he's hoping, for some just pot shot, going to wherever, wherever the champion is.
Get sparked.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, and then maybe retires. Or is he just going to build some obscene record of utter rubbish and get to about 40 and 0 with 1 draw? I don't really know. I really don't. I mean, he came onto the scene, didn't he, Prince Patel, it seems, years ago now, back in 2015, and he was this loudmouth pillock who just slagged everybody off.
He was going to beat Gonzalez, remember?
Yeah, him and Barry Jones went at it, didn't they?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, well, he was pig ignorant to Barry Jones on TV and like mocks his career, etc., things like that. Well, in being brutally honest, he needs to take a fucking look at himself. I mean, he's parading these belts around. What? The vacant Universal Boxing Organization World Bantamweight title and the World Boxing Federation World Bantamweight title. He's parading them around like, he's a unified IBF and WBC champion. In reality, these belts wouldn't sell at a car boot sale because no one fucking wants them. But he's happy to have them, and they're utter rubbish.
He's UBO WBF unified champion. Sonny Edwards needs to get in line. I'm not surprised he didn't take that fight.
Well, yeah, what can I say? He's got some. Well, he'll use them as bartering now. No doubt he'll sit down with his manager. They'll be marching into Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren's offices. Look at my world titles. Give me your best bantamweights. He might be 4 belts on the line. TJ Deholney, Danny Roman. The winners there to box for the UBO and WBF world titles, along with the IBF and WBO. You can see it already live on DAZN.
Yep, let's get it on, everybody. DAZN now doing adverts as well as subscriptions. Whenever Ozzy mentioned the record and what is Prince Patel's aim, he reminded me of a fighter called Lester Jacobs. People might not remember this guy. He was around in the 1990s. I think he might have fought in a couple of Audley Harrison undercards on the BBC. He was from Peckham anyway. He ended up with a 29-0 record with 15 knockouts. Never fought for a British title, never fought for an English title. Most of those wins were knockouts over journeymen like O.J. Abrahams, Paul Wesley. In 2000, he knocked out Delroy Leslie for the WBF, the same World Boxing Federation middleweight title, and he then defended that title by knockout against 9, 8 and 5 Jason Collins in 2001. Lester Jacobs, 29-0, 15 knockouts. Look him up, Oz.
Yeah, I am doing now. And you mentioned the name then, Steve, when we mentioned Ferenc Albert, and Jamie Cox was the one that you mentioned. And I mean, Jamie Cox is 25-2, and I would say probably 21 of his wins were all of a similar level to these Hungarians. The ones that I'll exclude from that are probably, just one, Lewis Taylor, who's an English level lad at best. After that, in Obador Sai. Aside from that, I thought he lost.
We all know what happened there, exactly.
Exactly,
he was using his balls as a speed bag.
Oh, it was unbelievable. You look at Jamie Cox's record now, and it's a travesty, and it really is. And it's another example of guys just going in with cannon fodder, showing that they can knock out punch bags, building up these highlight KOs. And I mean, Jamie Cox, he was unbeaten going into the Super Series, known as this huge puncher. got a massive payday against George Groves, and then John Ryder levelled him as well after he came back and he beat Harry Matthews. So so it's not just the Hungarians that build up these shoddy records. It's the lads in the UK are not too dissimilar, in my opinion.
There you go, digging deep on the asylum, everybody, giving you the truth behind the results. Gabe, give me some truth on this show next week, which you'll probably be at the Texas Combative Sports Program in the Toyota Center in Houston, Texas. Jaime Munguia defending his WBO Super Welterweight title against Takeshi Inoue. These Inoues can punch, but this one's 13-0-1. Munguia can fairly punch himself. I like his activity, Gabe Munguia. He's not hanging around, is he? He's fighting on a regular basis. Also on the undercard, Kanzu from China. Kanzu beat Jesus Rojas is the question. Rojas is the WBA World Featherweight Champion. He actually knocked out Claudio Marrero, who we were talking about in the last fight, who's going in against somebody else. I'm getting lost in a bit of a black hole here, Gabe. Virgil Ortiz Jr. is on the undercard as well. He's 11-0, one to look out for. Tell me about Munguia, Gabe. Are you pleased with his activity like I am?
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I have a hard time being a fan of a guy that's that fucking big, that's at pretty much a cruiserweight fighting down at the weight he's at. But that aside, though, I mean, if you can make it, fuck it, you're not breaking the rules. The activity, like you said, is good. He's coming to the point where he's going to start stepping up. So we'll see what's what. I'm more interested in the Virgil Ortiz fight. Pretty big Virgil Ortiz fan. So that one to me is going to be more fun to watch. And I don't expect it to be a great matchup or anything. I'm pretty high on the kid. He's solid. He's a solid young guy. And I think he'll do good things in the sport. He's got power in both hands. He's quick. So if you're asking me what I'm most excited about on that card, definitely going to be the Virgil Ortiz fight. Don't know much about the Chinese guy that's coming. So I won't have an opinion on that one. As far as the Munguia fight goes, I know I'm bouncing around. I'm sorry about that. I've seen enough of Inoue to think that he has a good chance to make a fight of it. Just depends on his own punch resistance. It doesn't look like he's really faced a big-time puncher, and I think Munguia's got plenty of power to put a hurt on him. So I think it'll be in that fight. I don't think it'll go the distance. I think it's going to be whoever lands the big punch first is going to take that fight.
Great stuff. Thanks, Gabe. Before we close out to Belyeu of the Weeks, let's get a couple of questions wrapped up. We've already asked Dom McNamara. Shout out to Dom, regular listener to the show. Rapping Rob Kelly, let's go back old school. You might have seen a portly looking Roy Jones Jr. in the corner last night with Nordine Ubali. But Darren Cope is asking you, Rob, towards the end of last year, actually, this one's been sitting in the archives, where would Roy Jones Jr. rank in the all-time list if he'd retired after the John Ruiz fight? Now, Darren throws this in. Got to be right up there, he says. What about top 5 of all time, says Darren Cope?
I said it before on the pod, that exact point, that to me, if Roy Jones had retired after he defeated John Ruiz for the heavyweight title, from his career, the way it had gone to that point, if he'd have retired then, I think he would have been 49-1 with the one being the contentious Montel Griffin one. It would have been very difficult to argue against him. When you see critics of our time today, like writers and credible writers, make a case for Floyd being the greatest of all time, I think if that version of Roy Jones had retired after beating John Ruiz, it would be very difficult to make an argument against him being up there for the best of all time. Like, and to me, I think he would have dealt with the best of all time. I think he would have done what he wanted with Marvin Hagler. I know that might be contentious, but that's just how high I hold Roy Jones. Yeah, absolutely agree to that point. I think it'd be very difficult to make a case against him being the GOAT at the end, but obviously he went on like all the greats too long, but I don't think he could take too much away from his legacy. I know it's like he had 2 careers, the kind of post-Tarver career, but up to that, man, absolutely amazing. So, yeah, I'd agree with that.
There you go, Darren Cope. Thumbs up from Rob Kelly. No greater accolade, in my opinion. Hey to Dave Lowback. Let's see if you're going to give a similar thumbs up to George Atwell's question. It's about strength and conditioning. Is this pod going to run out of steam? That's the question, Dave. Let's see if we can keep going for a bit longer, shall we? George Atwell says, think back, Dave, to the fighters of the 1950s, 60s and 70s. There wasn't a lot of technology to benefit the fighters, and life was more simple. Fights went 15 rounds, and we are a lot more advanced now. Why is it then, Dave, that after all the infrastructure and stuff we have in place, in this day and age, do fighters get gassed within a 12-round fight? Strength and conditioning has progressed so much as decades go by, but the fitness of fighters seems, says George, to be getting worse. Why do you think that is? Look forward to your opinion, Dave.
That's a great question, and it's something I've thought about a lot. Like, because when you watch the old black and white footage, even the 70s footage, even Ray Leonard sometimes footage, like, you see fighters that can just throw for round after round after round and just give it their all. I mean, not always. Some of the best could, though. And these are guys who are fighting like a couple weeks, like within a couple weeks or months of each other, like 5 times a year at least. Some of these guys, and they still had it in them. They fought more fights in their career overall as well. Now their careers would generally not last into their 40s like a lot of guys do today, but they would still be able to show that stamina on fight night. So I'm unfortunately I'm not like a medical professional or doctor, and I'm not really in a position to say why. I've often wondered and questioned this as like all these modern advancements in science and training and all this, and people say, well, it's a different game now. The fighters of today would just batter the guys of old. Well, watch the fights. That's not what I see. I mean, the guys of today, you see gassing in 5-6 rounds, some of them, especially the guys with the big muscles. And I mean, we know that is because like a lot of copious amounts of muscle requires more oxygenated blood, or it just wears you out and it's just dead weight. So like you see guys like Jean Pascal, Andre Berto, they gas because they're like absolute bodybuilder types. But that doesn't hold true for everyone with a great build either. It seems inconsistent, and it seems like I've never gotten a satisfying answer to that question, but it's definitely true. And I agree with George as far as the old guys did it better, honestly, as far as at least as far as stamina goes. Maybe punching power, you would give the edge to today. It's hard to say though, like, because a lot of factors go into power and knockouts.
I'm going to bring Gabe in here. What's your physique and stamina like, Gabe? Are you able to go for hours and hours?
I can do as well as I please.
His missus told me last night was the best 45 seconds of her life.
Goddamn right. Hey, I always wonder if it's the activity. So I've noticed, and I know you guys will. I know Andy's not a big American baseball fan, but I'm going to draw a correlation here. What I noticed is pitchers a long time ago, regardless of what their main pitch was, so on and so forth, didn't seem to have the same kind of shoulder and elbow troubles as the guys that are coming up now. And I think a big part of it is because they're so limited on pitch counts. What I mean is they watch very closely how many pitches a guy will throw in a training session and a game. And when they're watching these pitch counts, they want to make sure and keep them around a certain number so that they don't wear their arms out. I think fighters are very similar because they train a certain way for so much time, and then they only fight for certain amounts of time. And so in my estimation, the lack of consistent activity compared to the older guys tends to make me think along the lines of baseball, because they're so limited and because they're so protected. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I'm saying because that exists now, I think you see the correlations of, like I said, baseball players having problems with their elbows and their shoulders, and boxers not having the same kind of conditioning and the same type of scenario. Kind of goes both ways.
I think it's hard. Sorry, I don't want to jump in there, but I think it's hard to right off the fighters of old, because in these fantasy matchups, what are people expecting? Like, they go like fucking Quantum Leap, where they fucking time teleport Sean Porter back to the days of fucking Gene Fulmer, and he just bulldozes them. Like, no, you gotta, if you're doing these fantasy matchups, and that's what they are, you gotta give the fighters of old the benefit of today's training and think about their natural ability. Like, if you're looking at a guy like Henry Armstrong, who back in the 40s or 50s or whatever could throw 400 punches in a round, and then you put him in today's, a guy that was able to do that with those natural abilities, and put him in today's training regime, like, you're going to get a different fighter. Like, so I think it's that more people should think about that rather than just like fucking time traveling or whatever it is.
Imagine this at welterweight: Henry Armstrong, Adrian Broner, 15 rounds.
That's just cruel, Andy. That's just cruel.
And Broner could take it. Broner could take a shot too, so it'd be a brutal one-sided homicide Hank victory.
Oh,
but AB would have won it.
That's exactly that, mate. Homicide Hank. Fucking hell.
Well, Andy, fans of Punches from the Past will have heard over at patreon.com/boxing asylum, me, you, and Sam from Against the Ropes Boxing talking about Sugar Ray Robinson against Randy Turpin. And Randy was in queer shape, wasn't he? You know, he used to come forward and he was very aggressive, but also his training regimes were quite advanced for his time. He was a real physical specimen and a great unit. So you can imagine someone like him, who was ahead of his time back then, would have one hell of an engine even now.
Randy Turpin, if he was coming through the ranks just now, actually would be the biggest star in the British Isles, probably up there with Joshua. His amateur credentials were so good. Just for simple fact, he didn't have any like all the tournaments like Olympics and the Europeans and all that sort of stuff at the time and that. But as an amateur coming up, I think he turned pro at 19, 20 or something like that. But he was like, you know, ABA champion at junior and senior level all in the 1 year. It was like an extraordinary fighter, you know, well ahead of his time. You know, employed an up and down strategy, whereas you couldn't really kind of time him when he was attacking. He would kind of dip through the jab to the body. Very, 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 very good fighter. You know, well ahead of his time back in the 50s.
Well said, Andy. Right, we'll park the questions there. We do have a couple more from Danny Young and Tottenham Boxing. I'll leave them till next week. Thank you for everyone who's throwing them in as always. Let's get on to the Belyeu of the week. Talking to Sam at Against the Ropes, he threw one in for Ashley Theophane straight off the bat, saying Conor Benn would beat Josh Kelly. Nomination for Ashley Theophane. We mentioned this one earlier. Actually, Kenner's 90 has nominated Demetrius Andrade, as reported by BoxingTeam.com. Boxing World knows I'm baddest man out there, says Demetrius Andrade. And then he went and performed like that against Artur Akavov. Okay, fair enough. El Hamlet was nominated by Josh Fitzgerald. We're only halfway through January, but I think this could be looked upon come December for Belyeu of the Year, says Josh Fitzgerald. Hamlet said, I'd agree with this. People need to remember, if Dave Allen had the first 32 fights as Wilder, then Dave Allen would be 32-0 with 32 knockouts. So if
No, he wouldn't.
What trash, man, eh? Fuck's sake.
Or Dave Allen. We've also had an absolute belter coming for Dave Allen as well. We'll be reading that out at the end. So keep listening, everybody. Sky Sports Boxing. Welterweights are on notice, says Conor Benn. He'd love to take on Josh Kelly. James Bairstow nominated that one. Jay King nominated Sky Sports News for getting this one wrong. They said, breaking news, Kell Brook will fight Terence Crawford. Kell Brook will fight Terence Crawford, according to Sky Sports News. Wishful thinking, I think, there. DJ Bucky was talking to Lee Froch. Joe Thackeray threw in Lee Froch. He said that EDL. Lee Froch, Andy, believes that the world has no edge, and he says research flat Earth. Forget about his brother Carl's flat nose. It's flat Earth for Lee Froch there, Andy. So,
Lee Froch as a tosser. Lee Froch went around with a mankini on. Lee Froch should delete his life.
I tell you what, the flat Earth is like? So what, like? What difference is it going to make to you? Like, hasn't made a blind bit of difference to your life if it's flat all these years. Who gives a shit? Like, if it's flat, you're right, we're wrong. What's the end goal? Like, fuck off, will you? Like,
actually, last night it occurred to me that on Showtime, Mauro Ranallo sounds like a respected conspiracy researcher, James Fetzer. I was expecting Ranallo to come off with something like asking Paulie to prove the JFK assassination or something. So a bit of one I noticed there. Well, but yeah, anyway, flat Earth.
Speaking of Paulie, I'm sure he's getting one this week, is he? No.
He's getting one. If you got anything to throw in, then chuck him in now, Rob, because I think there's a couple of others coming for Paulie as well. But you go ahead.
No, I just had that one from Alan Ashley. Really, like it's when he gave the interview with MJP and accused Connor of stalking him. See, he was like, I don't know if you're gay, Connor, or whatever. Like, if you're gay, and I could be straight. I just don't want you doing this to me. It was real weird. Like,
He's obviously been taking a leaf out of fucking Amir Khan's book with Kell Brook recently, by the sounds of it.
Amir Khan's been class this week though when he gave it to Frotch.
I seen
on
that.
Sky Sports. He's like, yeah, I'm happy that it's going to be on Sky because people like Spencer Freer on the Cal Frotch will get paid to talk shit about me.
I didn't hear that one. That's
Did
you see his comments? Did you see his comments about Kell Brook's next fight? And that says, all the best fighting. Who's your fight maybe fighting next? He said, Jared Hearn. Yeah, all the best with that one, pal. Walked away.
And he stuck it to Coogan as well. He was like, I don't want to talk about Kell Brook, but yes, this is a third Eiffel interview where you've brought up Kell Brook. Like, so yeah, he stuck it. He was on rare form this week, Amir.
Thing is, Rob, not that I want to get bogged down with Kell Brook or anything, but I saw a tweet before we came online, and it was like, "Oh, Kell Brook, who's next? Is it going to be Jeff Horn, Liam Smith, or Jesse Vargas?" And I'm thinking, what about Jarrett Hurd, Charlo, and Munguia? Why is Brook always shopping at Poundland all the time?
I don't know. Maybe he likes it, Babby. Maybe that's where they have the chocolate brownies at. I don't know. But my other Belyeu was for actually AJ. So I'm going in on Matchroom again. Unlucky. But AJ, they said, Dillian White said that AJ is the one behind this offer. So it wasn't Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn said it wasn't me. This is what AJ wants to give you, and I know it's not enough. So they're saying that AJ fight anybody, and if it was up to AJ, he'd absolutely fight anybody. So why is he going around lowballing everybody? Because Frank Warren said they lowballed him too, and Wilder's team are not getting back to them. So if they're lowballing everybody, what does that mean? Like, that big baby Miller is next, but I thought he wants to fight anyone. You know what I mean? So you're making offers to the fighters, not even the promoters. Like, so Belyeu of the week for AJ, because he's the man in control of his career, as Eddie always says, and he'd fight anybody if it was up to him. And Eddie as well for his faded Manny Pacquiao and unmotivated Broner remarks that came back to haunt him, where he had like 3 videos saying he would love to sign Manny Pacquiao and would love to sign Adrian Broner. But when they turned him down, as Espinosa pointed out, then they're faded and unmotivated. So, yeah, Belyeu of the week for Big Bonce Eddie.
There you go, Rob Kelly there going in on Eddie from his basement. Yeah, I like Espinosa on Twitter. He drops a few direct truths, so I'm become a fan of him. Anyway, talking of Eddie, he's been nominated here again from Terry Woodfine, one of the cheesiest promos of all time. Go and watch this one on Twitter for Cheeseman Garcia for the European title, February the 2nd. They made this little promo video on Twitter. You have to go and see it. It's on Eddie's from during the week. You'll find it on his timeline. David Nunn nominated that as well. Anthony has nominated Boxing Kingdom. Eddie Hearn, Wilder is petrified of Anthony Joshua. There you go. That's the one that Rob was just mentioning, actually. Also, Babs, Brian King, and a few others nominated. Project KD. Lennox Lewis is worried about his name losing its worth and that Joshua will surpass him. If you look at both fighters, 22 fights in, he already has. There you go, KD Project. That could be a front runner, Andy. Already, Anthony Joshua, 22 fights in, has surpassed Lennox Lewis, according to Project KD.
Project KD. You're a cunt.
Project Knockdown.
Project Knockdown. Project fucking needs fucking dousing petrol. Set a light. I mean, come on. Do people believe? I mean, hang on. See, this is the thing, right? This is what Eddie Hearn does. He gets his fighter title fights, Joshua, we're talking about here, right? And then when the shit hits the fucking fan, and or he's made to look bad in the fight, he's only been fighting since he was 21, or he's only had 22 fights. And lo and behold, all the fucking Matchroom bots are fucking tweeting fucking verbatim what Eddie Hearn says. He's a cunt.
That's all Andy's got to say about it. Also, some more Matchroom-based Belyeu of the Weeks here. Babs has nominated Kell Brook. He's talking about the Danny Jacobs-Canelo fight, which is a very good fight in my opinion. Nice to see a genuine boxing matchup being announced this week with 2 credible fighters, says Kell Brook. David Farmer is nominated as well. Here we go again, everybody, for the Basement Dwellers. Massive Belyeu of the Week for Eduardo, says David Farmer with Coogie Bear. He said he is going to make a massive bid for Wilder Fury 2. If it goes to purse bids, then 15 minutes later admits he is going to lose the purse bids next week for Warrington versus Galahad. What a fucking helmet, says David Farmer. So there you go. James Bernard has nominated Joseph Ajayo for talking about AJ and racism. The doctor can do no wrong in my eyes, James, but I've had to nominate him on your behalf. Here's one from you, Andy. Adrian Broner, 19th of January 2019. I outboxed him.
I don't think there's anything else needs
You've
said
made your
there.
feelings known on AB, I think.
I know. People listening to this podcast, if they don't, will know my opinion and my true belief on this guy. I'd slightly disagree with what Rob said. I think he has got a bit of talent, but again, it's that sad case that talent doesn't work hard enough, right? He said, I outboxed him. That's all he said. This guy, as I say, is earlier on in the podcast, he outlanded Manny Pacquiao in 2 rounds over the course of a 12-round fight by 1 punch in each of those 2 rounds. He is a fraud. He's a bum. He's playing at it. Fuck off and die.
Sucked out, fucked out, looking for a hanging there.
That's it, mate. I'm going to get that copyrighted.
T-shirt's coming soon to the hood, baby, because he did it for the hood, and that's good because he's going to be back there pretty soon.
Can we just talk about the hood and that for a wee nanosecond here, right? Remember the time he said he grew up in the streets, the trenches. I'm talking about water and cornflakes, baby, right? This is a guy who could afford cornflakes but not a pint of milk, right? Or Manny Pacquiao, who would dive fucking 3 feet into the water to go and fucking catch a fish so he could feed, right? The levels to the poverty game, baby, and Manny Pacquiao was harder than fucking you.
There you go, another L for Broner. Andy dishing him out tonight, Rob.
The hood turned on Broner so quick as well. Like, you want to see the memes going around on Twitter last night. Like, oh, they slaughtered him. Like, it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Broner couldn't have been that poor. Look at the size of his dad.
This is the thing, though.
Maybe that's why he was poor.
This is why he was eating fucking water and cornflakes. His dad was eating the fucking food stamps. Fucking fat mess.
There you go, fucktoastsyrup.com. Anyway, let's move on. The Bantams, was talking about delusional post-fight interview from AB as well. Chad Hogan has nominated Jetty DeRider. We watched the Adrian Broner fight, he said. He won. Pacquiao got first. Pacquiao got 1 round, the 7th, but from 4, 5, 6, Broner won. 7th to Manny, 8th to Broner, 9th even, but Broner, 10th Broner. They ain't showing no replays, says Jetty DeRider.
Attention-seeking post at his finest, that one. Begging for a retweet, begging for attention, that one.
He
He gave
tagged
him the
in
9th
AB.
too, in which Broner got hurt almost as bad as he did in the 7th.
Broner actually looked more visibly hurt in that round than he did in the 7th, actually. But I need to go back. I maybe got that one wrong, actually. I think he's more hurt in the 7th, actually.
Marcus Bellinger has nominated Friday's Sky broadcast for multiple offences and the US national anthem last night. Chad Hogan has nominated EB_Asbar. Adrian Broner is one of the most talented fighters I've ever seen, but he's so undisciplined and goofy. He's always been his own worst enemy. Also, Chad Hogan nominated. Here's one for you, Rob. Glasses Malone. I think we have to be careful with this one, but Malone said four rounds apiece after 8. Broner, great rebound from AB. Hashtag Pack Broner. Shout out to Glasses Malone.
4 rounds apiece. Oh, man.
He needs to get his glasses checked, I think.
Yeah. Big Savers Malone. I don't know, man. That's bad. 4 rounds apiece. Even Clarissa Shields said afterwards that Broner lost it, for fuck's sake. 4 rounds
Friggin' hell,
apiece.
he must have lost then. Bloody hell, if even Carissa's admitting it. Anyway, Matt Jones has nominated Tony Belyeu. Josh Langley has nominated Dominic Long. Dominic says Kell Brook is the most avoided fighter at 147 and 154. None of them wanted Brook at all outpriced themselves. Nathan Shaw has nominated Matthew Macklin. He was talking about a possible Liam Smith-Kell Brook fight being an exciting all-action possible fight of the year. What exactly is his opinion based on? Nathan Shaw rightly asked the question. Any other nominations? Anybody? Smid or anything from you to throw in? Thanks for sticking with us, Smid. I know sometimes you bail out, but you're here till the bitter end, brother.
No, nothing from me. I think that Fastcar deserves it this week. He's been rattled. Fastcar has been rattled by people talking about AJ ducking him or not taking this or offering that, whatever. I watched an interview with that Boxing Social the other week, in the week, of Hearn. Boxing Social guy says something about, we saw Dillian White's comments over the weekend. And before he'd even finished the question, Eddie's just gone off on one for five full minutes of the interview. He's addressed the White situation, and then he goes on to Wilder that weren't even in the question, and then he talks about Fury. They're feeling the pressure about this Joshua situation. We've got a date of April the 13th at Wembley. Joshua is obviously the only person that Matchroom have got that can fill that. They're under pressure. We're talking about Big Baby Miller in America. But yeah, this time a year ago when we was talking about Wilder, we've built the base in Britain and we want to keep it. So, do they want to go over to America? Do they not? I obviously think they should go over to America at some stage, not necessarily now. I just think they're under pressure. And I would say, Steve, without taking too much time, I think this Dillian White situation whereby he said he's been lowballed in terms of an offer to fight AJ. I'm not having this for 1 minute. Just think about it, right? Dillian White is probably... it's probably safe to say Dillian White is behind Joshua, one of the top 3 dudes that Matchroom have got, the top 3 names. I'm not saying he's the best in the top 3 best boxers they've got, but Dillian White is now a big name for Matchroom and Sky. He's just headlined back-to-back pay-per-views as the A-side, and now he's going to talking publicly about having a low ball offer, been over there with talking to Heyman because he's a so-called free agent. I'm just not buying it. I'm not buying it. Just not buying it. It's got to be part of some sort of strategy or agenda from Matchroom. It's just too obvious. Why would they? Dillian White's come from next to nothing. I mean, he was on a drugs ban on the scrap heap way before Matchroom.
Talking to the likes of us on a Sunday night.
Talking to the likes of us. That's how low Dillian White was. He was talking to us on a Sunday night.
People forget that, by the way.
Well, exactly.
As I say, we make careers. We make careers. We make champions. There's Ryan Scalia has made his new podcast there. We're creating podcasts. We're creating world champions. We're creating legends.
I'm just not having it. This Dillian White, friction with Matchroom, if you want to call it. I'm just not buying it. I think it's a load of shit. But anyway, I don't want to.
We even created Eddie Hearn. Look at Eddie Hearn went and done a $1 billion deal. We still hasn't spent any fucking money yet.
Because he'd been on here. Yeah, exactly. But I'm voting for Fast Car this week. I think he deserves it.
Well done, Fast Car. Yeah, El Hamlet is one of the nominations. He's just followed me on Twitter, so maybe he's sensing a Belyeu of the Week award could be coming his way. Lots for Eddie. Also, Aussie, we've had this late entry come in. A few people have nominated already, including Darren Cope and Chris Taylor. Crazy's 13 sounds quite crazy. He thinks Big Dave Allen might put Usyk on his arse with a big right hand. Too rough and tough for Usyk on his first heavyweight fight. Yeah, don't put him anywhere near the Rhino. It's a bit too much for Usyk, I think.
Well, he's then gone on to say as well, and lads, me saying David will be able to beat Usyk right now because he is too tough and rough. So just come up to heavyweight, a bit like how I would beat any of your lot. Up just too tough myself. That's life. Sorry about that, lads. Ha ha.
That's us told them.
Oh, well.
So,
Dave Allen versus Usyk could well happen in 2019 by the summertime. Could well happen. Dave Allen gets a win. He's pay-per-view pappy. Usyk's frozen out of the heavyweight titles. Dave Allen versus Usyk, log it. Summer blockbuster.
Well, I've just seen actually that the next fight for Dave Allen is looks like it could be Lucas Browne.
Yeah, Dave Allen's mad for the Lucas Browne fight apparently, so it wouldn't surprise me that.
Well, I'll take Big Daddy in that any day of the week. 100%.
There you go. Right, any other nominations, everybody, boys? Sorry, Ozzy, I cut you off in your prime there. Was it Ozzy or Dave? Who's talking to me?
Me.
Is it the voices in my head? Who is this? Hello?
It's me. I've got 3 nominations. One for Broner in his corner. Well, for that performance and partially for Cunningham here. He was lying to Broner in the corner, telling him he was doing well in the fight. That I assume that contributed to Broner's delusional opinion at the end of the fight that he had won it. I think after the 11th, Cunningham said, it was after the 10th or the 11th, Cunningham said, yeah, you should have got that round because he can't touch you. Well, when you run away and don't throw anything back, you don't win a round. Whatever. Also for the, I can't remember her name. Was it Shanice or something who sang the U.S. national anthem before the main event last night? There was something she was doing which was just abysmal. And, I mean, the anthems regularly get butchered during boxing events, so this is nothing surprising, but this was particularly bad. That our flag was still there. Just those little, I don't know what you call it, but it's like...
Shanice, Dave. It wasn't Shanice from the early 90s who sang I Love Your Smile, was it?
That's her.
Was it her?
It was Shanice.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that the same girl, yeah?
Yeah.
Chris Browne is after Sam making a bit of a comeback, so Shanice is back, baby.
She was a little past it, but judging by her appearance, like looked a little old. So it sounds about right. And also, I want to give one to Broner's. I guess he's a staple mate now. His buddy Devin Alexander, because they're training together now, right, with Cunningham.
Really? Friggin' hell, Alexander wants to watch out. Friggin' Broner, shag anything. He'd be after Alexander's friggin' stretched backside next if he's not careful.
So Devin was tweeting about his support for Broner ahead of the time, like, little bro, you got this and all this. And then, like, as soon as the fight starts, he tweets out a live stream link to his buddy's pay-per-view. he was streaming it himself. But he deleted that after a few minutes, but it was pretty funny.
He's like a bit of a simpleton, isn't he, Alexander? He said he was going to run for president the other week, and then he deleted that.
Oh, that's too bad. I would love to see him run.
Oh, he's off his nuts. Right, go on then, Dave. Who are you going for? I'm going for Demetrius Andrade for saying, boxing world, no, I'm the baddest man out there.
He's just not even relevant enough for me to vote for him. I'm going to go for Eddie Hearn.
Another one for Eddie.
He's had an
Andy, what about you?
Week. And you know, like you mentioned, Espinoza. Every time he gets into it with Espinoza wins. The difference is Eddie has all the followers and all like the shills on his side, so like Eddie gets more likes and all that. But Espinoza always owns him with the facts.
Espinoza's decent, is he? And he's on form on Twitter, I think.
I like Espinoza for time to time in that. What I will say is he actually even backed up Broner by saying that he was getting paid more than what Eddie Hearn was offering him that. But I'm not too sure. But maybe it is, I don't know. But I'm not wanting to put myself in his pocket.
They get a lot of money off the record, I think.
Yeah.
You know, the purses that are submitted and that what they actually get paid.
Yeah.
I think Broner actually said that himself, didn't he?
For what I hear, Heyman's actually going to save some of his money for Broner because he's a wee fiend with it. But no, for me, my vote goes to Broner because, hey, I outboxed him, baby.
There you go. Simple. Straight and simple. We've got two for Eddie, one for Broner, one for Demetrius Andrade. The people are desperate, Gabe. Desperate to hear who you're picking this week.
Man, there's so many good ones. Shit.
Any love for Shanice?
No.
Can't believe that's the same one who sang that song. I remember that song when I was at school. Anyway, sorry, Gabe, go on.
No, you're good. I'm gonna go with shit. I'm gonna go with Andrade. I just don't like that son of a bitch.
That's as good a reason as any. That's two for Andrade. Then what about you, Oz?
I'm going to go for this pillock who said Dave Allen had put Usyk on his backside. For absolutely no reason. There's just no logic. It's just the Dave Allen cult who think he's this phenomenal athlete and puncher and he's going to flatten an elite level cruiserweight who won't exactly be... He'll probably be bigger. Well, he'll be in a lot better shape at heavyweight than Dave Allen, but he still feels he will put Usyk on his backside. So, at Crazies13, he was questioning on his Twitter, what does BOTW stand for? Well, you are nominated for Belyeu of the Week.
Congratulations, Crazies13. You might win. You're in with a chance. Two for Eddie, two for Andrade. They're the front runners. Rob, you could tip the balance. Who are you going for?
Well, this week, even though Eddie's up there, and the guy who said about AJ Lennox Lewis is definitely up there, it has to be none other than AB, who took 3 L's last night, one to Manny Pacquiao, one to Jim Gray, and one to the Hood. He really disappointed. Just the way he conducted himself in the interview, like Jim tried to set the tone at the start. He still tried to be disrespectful and ended up getting sunned by Jim Gray with that wouldn't mean much punchline that knocked him out back to the dressing room, him and his trainer, who thought he won the fight. So it has to be AB. About those billions, baby.
There we go then. 2 for AB, 2 for Eddie, and 2 for Demetrius Andrade. It's a 3-way tie. Dave, you're a man of great respectability. I'm going to give you the final word here. Who do you think should win out of those three
I'm going to switch.
characters?
I'm just going to switch my vote. I'm going to go for AB as well. About Belyeu of the Week.
Absolutely.
About Belyeu's?
Anally busted.
Absolutely brilliant. Fuck him.
Well
Honestly,
done, mate.
I mean, see, I'm going to be serious. I've got a nice bottle of whiskey here, right? It's about £250 I paid for this fucking bottle. See, the day he dies, I'm going to break that bottle open. I'm going to have a nice quaff of that fucking whiskey, baby. He is an absolute tadger. I mean, he actually goes out his road to actually fucking verbally abuse people who are just ordinary working people like you and I. You know, you could be working in a library, you could be working in the fucking shop or whatever and that, and then walks AB, with his fucking £1, or sorry, his $1 notes, fucking like 6 inches thick, wants to be fucking Floyd, right? He starts talking pish, I'm this and I'm fucking that. What happens? Fucking 40-year-old Pacquiao with a flu. Fucking taxes your ass, baby.
Not to forget that he said to members of Pacquiao's camp this week that I have a cat in the back that I've sauteed just for you. I have a German Shepherd that I cooked just for you. So he said that as well in the build-up to the fight. And then to say to Jim Gray, oh, you're against me. Jim Gray's not against anyone, dude. You know what I mean? It's just you little shit. He's just deplorable trash bag. Like, he's an awful, awful guy. Like,
Jim Gray reminds me of who's that guy fucking on? He reminds me of Gabriel Clark, actually, or even worse, Gary Newborn on ITV. Right, that's what he reminds me of, but he's not a bad guy, man. He just gets right to the fucking point. You know what you want? You want me to fucking put some sugar on top of it and fucking kiss your ass?
I was disappointed that AB didn't come out off with the can man. I think it gets funnier every time. He should have dropped that one in.
Because he is the can man. He got it last night, by the way. Fucking waster.
Yeah, I would be amazed, Rob, if this guy lives past 50. I really would.
Oh yeah, 50 shooting for the stars, dude. I don't know. Like, he's in deep legal trouble too. He's got 2 sexual assault cases pending. Like, and maybe he has enough money to make that go away. But like, you know, one step closer to being, you know what Andy said. You know what I mean? Yeah, the T-shirts printed.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the guy's had every chance to turn it around. Like, he's had every chance to reflect. He's been in trouble. He's been given opportunities that other fighters don't get. Like, so there's no feeling sorry for him. Like, he talks so much shit. We have to listen to him all the time. He's always in the public eye, and he never goes away. Like, he's like a fucking, I don't know. He's like a bad dream or something. He keeps coming back. Like,
you know what he is? He's thrush. He is an irritating cunt. And he's a fun guy. He keeps coming back all the fucking time, right? And it's just a shame that when they go doing a bird who had fucking thrush, could get fucking thrush in the mouth, that wee bastard. Maybe shut him up for fucking talking for some time.
Shut that shit up.
Exactly. Pure old little fucking tadger.
Right. This feels like the bit at the end, usually, when we cut the call off. But there you go. You got a bit of extra there, a bit of insight into everybody, what we talk about when we cut it off. Thank you very much, as always, to Andy Patterson for his unique insight. Hey to Dave Loback as well for choosing Belyeu of the Week. Ozzy was with us, rapping Rob Kelly, also Gabe Lewis, a bit of Tommy and a bit of Donny, and we could have had nearly the full set because Adam Smith was on with us as well. I've been Steve Wellings. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you all again, same time, same place next week. Thank you. Bye.